Chapter 128. Lin Feng was speechless as he looked at Tunton. After a long time, he finally said, "Did your parents not care that Blackwater mysterious underworld beat you up like this?" Tunton pursed its lips. "I destroyed his physical body and damaged his spirit. Only a wisp of his spirit is left. However, I'm sure that he's still alive. I'm not sure if my father went to find trouble with the mysterious underworld race. It wasn't easy for me to find a ring to stay in, and I slept for more than a decade." At this point, Tunton slapped the bars of the light prison in annoyance. "The two of us are evenly matched, and a fight to the death would result in mutual destruction. But if I have the true sun fire, the situation will be completely different. With the true sun fire, I would be able to deal with his mysterious underworld true water and defeat him with my devouring mystic ability. The Blood River true water polluted all things. The Yellow Springs true water purified all things, and a lunar true water was the commander of all water and could control water. On the other hand, Netherism true water was the coldest and coldest water in the world. Rather than saying its form was water, it would be better to say that it was solid like ice, and even flames could be frozen. The 7 great true fires were the most suitable to restrain the mysterious underworld true water, and the true sun fire was the best. No wonder Tunton couldn't forget it. Lin Feng thought about it and said slowly, "Tunton, I hope you don't mind what I have to say." Tunton was curious. "What is it? Speak." "Blackwater mysterious underworld was willing to fight to the death with you for Hu Fun." Lin Feng carefully worded his words to avoid rubbing salt in little Tao Ye's wounds. "They have such a deep relationship. I'm afraid you won't be able to win against Hu Fun." Tunton pursed its lips. What? He was just playing with Hu Fun. Lin Feng was a little surprised to see that it wasn't as stubborn as a dead duck. Is there something wrong with Blackwater mysterious underworld's brain? Why did he fight to the death with you? Tunton said matter-of-factly, "Because I wanted to mate with him, but he was unwilling. Thus we fought. In the end, we got really angry and it became a fight to the death." Lin Feng, Tunton grabbed the bars of the light prison and shouted, "Just give me the true fire seed." Lin Feng's dull eyes moved slightly as he finally regained some life. He looked at Tunton and slowly asked, "You want the sun true fire not to deal with Hu Fun, but to defeat the Blackwater mysterious Ming?" Tunton nodded. "Actually, it's to deal with Hu Fun. If I can defeat the Blackwater mysterious Ming, I will naturally defeat Hu Fun if I obtain him." Lin Feng nodded blankly and asked, "Yes, that's right. You didn't defeat the Blackwater mysterious Ming just to defeat him. You wanted to force yourself on him?" Tunton nodded vigorously, its eyes glowing. "Mate, mate, mate." The little lowly danced with joy. "When Blackwater and I have children, that vixen will be nothing. At that time, alas, why did you leave? Why did you leave? Don't go. Where's the true fire seed? Leave the true fire seed for me." The corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitched. Without saying a word, he turned around and left. At that moment, he felt as though hundreds of millions of grassland horses covered in mud were galloping across his heart. What happened to the great shame and humiliation? What happened to the great blood feud? What happened to the irreconcilable enmity? F***CK. Is the demon race all like this? Lin Feng was angry and amused at the same time. He had initially listened to Tunton's solemn explanation and even involved his parents. However, the more he listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. This was the final outcome. He had heard that animals of the same sex would fight each other for mates. However, on Tunton's side, the females wanted to force themselves on the males, especially this fierce female. According to the age of her race, she was still far from being an adult. She was just like a little lowly, solemnly declaring that she was going to forcefully do that to a burly man. An image surfaced in Lin Feng's mind. A little lowly that looked like she was only 4 or 5 years old approached a handsome young man with an evil smile. "Handsome, obediently submit to me. If you don't want to, you have to submit today. Don't worry, I will be gentle, I promise it won't hurt." That image was too beautiful. Lin Feng could not bear to continue thinking about it. Leaving the little Tao Tai to jump there, Lin Feng's consciousness unceremoniously withdrew from the space within the ring. He exited the black cloud flag and silently calculated the distance in his heart. He should be reaching Lingyun Peak soon. Sure enough, after flying for a while more, in the vast Kunlun mountain range, a lone peak far higher than the other peaks, piercing straight into the sea of clouds. Clouds lingered around it, giving off an extraordinary aura. Lin Feng took a deep breath and transmitted his voice to Wang Lin and the others who were riding on the Fei Lian's back. "Follow me up." The black cloud flag flashed with a black light and also charged into the sea of clouds, separating the layers of clouds. The vast expanse of white clouds in front of him suddenly disappeared. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly opened up, and he saw that the top of Lingyun Peak was much higher than the sea of clouds. It indeed seemed to stand out from the crowd. But Lin Feng's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. He raised his head and looked around. There was nothing in the sky above Lingyun Peak. Lin Feng pulled the Fire Crow Young Master out of the black cloud flag and looked at it expressionlessly. The Fire Crow Young Master naturally knew what Lin Feng meant. He shrunk his neck. "You can't see it. It will only appear when you touch it. Otherwise, every time Jing Mountain comes out of the void turbulence, it would have been discovered long ago." Lin Feng nodded and threw the Fire Crow Young Master back into the black cloud flag. Then, he went to the top of Lingyun Peak and flew straight up. From the top of Lingyun Peak, he flew another few thousand meters. As Lin Feng was flying upwards, the void in front of him suddenly twisted. A large expanse of purple mist suddenly appeared in front of him. Lin Feng was shocked and retreated a few steps. The purple mist quickly disappeared. Lin Feng understood and flew up again, arriving at the place where the purple mist appeared. As expected, the space rippled slightly like water, and the purple mist appeared again. Wang Lin and the others followed on the Fei Lian beast. Zhu Yi looked up with a bewildered expression. "Master, what was that just now?" Lin Feng stared at the seemingly empty sky for a moment. Then he gently raised his right hand, his 5 fingers forming a knife, and slashed at the air. The air instantly fluctuated violently like boiling water. Waves after waves of purple mist spread out endlessly in all directions. The entire sky was dyed purple. Not only were Zhu Yi and the others dumbfounded, even Lin Feng stared at the scene in front of him in a daze. A sea of purple clouds that covered an area of hundreds of thousands of acres appeared in the sky. It was dense and steaming, and it was a magnificent sight. In the center of the sea of purple clouds, a white jade-like mountain was faintly discernible. One could feel an incomparably majestic spirit chi from it. This was because the spirit chi was blocked by the purple mist and did not disperse. Otherwise, one could imagine how astonishing it would be. In the purple mist, treasured trees, pavilions, sweet showers, galaxies, halberds, treasured swords, screens. Endless light and shadows rose and fell, and it was a majestic sight. Many images rose and fell in the purple mist, faintly discernible along with the white jade immortal mountain. On that white jade immortal mountain, there were flowing springs, waterfalls, orchids, and beautiful trees. It was like a dream. Above the 9 heavens, endless astral winds and rolling thunder clouds all prostrated at the foot of this white jade immortal mountain, becoming its stairs and guards. They surrounded this immortal mountain that seemed to be the ruler of the 9 heavens. Lin Feng took a deep breath. "That is Jing Mountain?" Chapter 129. Jade Capital Mountain finally appeared in front of Lin Feng. However, the entire white Jade Mountain was shrouded in purple mist. At the top of Jade Capital Mountain, one could vaguely see the silhouette of a treasure tree. It looked like a small sapling, but upon closer inspection, one would realize that it was so huge that it seemed to be able to cover the entire sky. The two completely contradictory feelings of the greatest and the smallest had perfectly merged together, giving off a mysterious feeling. "Master, is this where you want to bring us to?" Xiao Yin muttered as he stared at Jade Capital Mountain that was shrouded in purple mist. Lin Feng had previously sent them out to search for Jade Capital Mountain, but he would definitely not tell his disciples the truth. In fact, he did not know the location himself. He only said that it was a small test for the four of them to find the mountain on their own. Now that Xiao Yin had asked, Lin Feng naturally would not expose him. That's right. This mountain is called Jade Capital Mountain. It's the mountain and cave abode for us. What do you think? Do you like it? Xiao Yin came back to his senses and said with a smile, "Nothing to say. First class, awesome." Wang Lin swallowed his saliva and did not say anything. Zhu, he took a deep breath. White jade capital in the sky, 12 buildings, and 5 cities. This is the true paradise on earth. The little guy immediately cheered. He patted the Fei Lian and flew toward Jade Capital Mountain in the sky. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, but he did not stop them. When the Fei Lian carried the 4 disciples and neared the purple mist, it seemed as if it had crashed into a wall. The inertia flung the little guy and the others off its back. Although they were not prepared, the little guy and the others quickly steadied themselves. The Fei Lian also became vigilant and did not dare to approach the purple mist anymore. It circled in the air and caught the little guy and the others before decisively retreating. Master, the 4 looked at Lin Feng in confusion. Lin Feng's expression was calm and his face was calm. Actually, while the 4 of them were at a disadvantage, he had already quickly cast the 2-world void technique and at the same time used the heaven cage sigil to collect a wisp of purple gas. The purple chi looked as light as smoke, but the heaven cage sigil could not seal it. The purple chi easily corroded Lin Feng's magic power and dispersed from the light prison. The purple chi did not show any hostility. After escaping from Lin Feng, it neatly merged back into the purple chi sea like a small water droplet falling back into the sea. So mysterious, but also so domineering. Lin Feng frowned inwardly. Even Tuntun's devouring divine ability inherited from the top primordial ferocious beast Tao Dai was helpless against the heaven cage sigil, but this dense purple chi treated it like nothing. Although the universe purple chi had escaped, Lin Feng had already grasped the extremely short period of time and decisively used the ability analyzer to analyze the purple chi. The universe purple chi was also known as the Great Universe Origin Chi. It was a wisp of clear spirit chi that accompanied the heavens at the beginning of the world. It did not have any offensive power, but it could transform into all things and also repel all things. Lin Feng understood that the reason the universe purple chi could so easily escape from the heaven cage sigil was because it transformed into a form of the same origin as the heaven cage sigil the moment it came into contact with the heaven cage sigil's magic power, thus deceiving the heaven cage sigil. The heaven cage sigil treated it as a part of itself and naturally did not play any role in stopping it, allowing it to easily leave. The situation that the little guy and the others encountered before was a manifestation of the universe purple chi's ability to repel all things. Facing the puzzled gazes of his 4 disciples, Lin Feng smiled. "What's wrong? Why are you crying over a little trouble? Asking you to find this mountain was a test, but it was just a warm-up." Lin Feng raised his head and smiled at Yujing Mountain. "Now is the real test. The purple mist in front of you is called the Universe Purple Chi, also known as the Great Universe Origin Chi. As the name implies, it is the origin chi that existed at the beginning of the world and all things were born." Lin Feng explained to the system, "This chi can transform into all things, but it will also repel all things. It's not as simple as you think." Lin Feng waved his hand. "Go. There's no limit to the method. Whoever is the first to break through the barrier of the universe purple chi and ascend Yujing Mountain will receive a special reward." The eyes of Xiao Yin and the others brightened, but none of them acted blindly. After listening to Lin Feng's introduction, they already understood that the universe purple chi in front of them was not ordinary. The little guy was the first to act. He jumped onto the head of the Fei Lian beast and smiled. "Fei Lian, lend me a hand." The Fei Lian beast grinned. Green light erupted from its body, and two tornadoes appeared out of nowhere. They rubbed against each other in the air, forming a giant wind blade. The little guy made a hand sign with his left hand, and countless tornadoes coiled around his right hand. He waved it forward, combining with the Fei Lian Beast's tornado slash. Together, they slashed towards the universe purple chi. The universe purple chi did not react at all, allowing the 10-meter-tall wind blade to hit it. However, the purple clouds did not even ripple. When the wind blade hit the universe purple chi, it was like a wave hitting a reef by the sea. The wave was instantly shattered, and the reef did not move at all. I'm afraid we can't attack it by force. He shook his head slightly. He swung his sword twice. One was the lake sword technique, and the other was the wind sword technique. The wind was above the lake, and the wind was above the lake. He easily escaped. He became one with his sword and turned into a ray of light. Like a swimming fish, he successfully broke through the universe purple chi. The little guy and the other two cheered together. Even Lin Feng felt excited. But good things don't last long. He had just entered the purple chi about 10 feet when he felt the resistance greatly increase. The surrounding purple chi pressed down on him like an avalanche. It didn't hurt him, but Zhu Yi's whole body was directly thrown away. Zhu Yi somersaulted in the air and steadily landed on the back of the Fei Lian beast. However, his expression was serious. It was clear that the universe purple chi was very troublesome. Xiaoyan raised his eyebrows. He slowly extended his right hand and activated the 8 trigrams collapse technique. Layers of vibrating and collapsing power surged towards the universe purple chi. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. "Little Yin, be careful." Hearing this, Xiaoyan's heart trembled slightly. Then he saw that whether it was the little guy's strong attack or Zhu Yi's roundabout attacks, the purple gas that did not have any reaction from beginning to end, when faced with his 8 trigrams collapsing, was like a fierce beast that was suddenly awakened. The originally calm and still purple sea of clouds instantly fell into a frenzy. The universe purple chi turned into raging waves and pounced toward Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan's 8 trigrams collapse technique was indeed domineering. It successfully eliminated a bit of the universe purple chi, but compared to the total amount, it was not even 1/1000th. However, this time, it completely angered this huge monster. Faced with the surging and violent universe purple chi, Xiaoyan was shocked. He used the 8 trigrams collapse technique to protect himself, using the external demon dispelling technique to protect himself. However, before the universe purple chi reached him, Xiaoyan's vision blurred. He suddenly realized that the universe purple chi, which was close at hand, was extremely far away from him. He looked around and saw that he was in the air far away from Mount Yujing and the purple chi cloud sea. He was even very far away from Lin Feng and the others. Disperse the 8 trigrams collapse technique. Lin Feng's voice sounded in his ear. Xiaoyan stopped the technique as he was told. In the next moment, he was transported back to his side by Lin Feng's 2 realms void technique. At this time, the universe purple chi had already calmed down. Lin Feng glanced at his 4 disciples indifferently. "Do you know what's going on?" Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he said softly, "Since the universe purple chi is known as the mother of all things, it must contain the meaning of creation." Eldest senior brother's 8 trigrams collapse technique wants to destroy the creation of the universe. The two can be said to be mortal enemies. Xiaoyan nodded. He now understood the reason behind it. When he understood it, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He thought that if Lin Feng hadn't moved him away in time, his 8 trigrams collapse technique might have been able to resist the universe purple chi for a while, but in the end, it would only have angered the universe purple chi even more. Lin Feng smiled slightly. "Don't be impatient. Take your time. Master's reward is not so easy to get." The 4 disciples looked at each other and smiled. They bowed and said, "We will definitely do our best." The Fei Lian beast carried the 4 of them as it flew around the purple cloud sea. The 4 of them no longer fought on their own. Instead, they actively discussed among themselves, hoping to find a way to get rid of the cyclic purple cloud. No matter who got the reward in the end, they had to solve the problem in front of them first. As for how to divide the spoils after getting the reward, that was a matter for later. Xiao Yin and the other three were very clear on this point. Lin Feng watched the four disciples leave with an indifferent expression. After the four of them left his line of sight, Lin Feng's expression immediately fell. He looked at the universe, purple chi, in front of him with a sad expression. I also have to work hard as soon as possible to break through the barrier of the universe, purple chi. Only then can I reach Yujing Mountain. Chapter 130. This sea of purple clouds was the same as the divine martial immortal exterminating array commanded by General Evil in the great swamp of the ancient region. It completely sealed off the space inside. Be it Lin Feng's dual realm void technique or the Dharma artifact, the black cloud flag, they could not pass through space and the purple clouds to reach Mount Yujing. Lin Feng frowned as he looked at the cyclic purple clouds in front of him. Can I only break through it head-on? As soon as he came into contact with the cyclic purple clouds, Lin Feng rejected it. After pondering for a while, Lin Feng raised his palm. His fingers formed a blade and slashed at the cyclic purple clouds. The cyclic purple clouds shook, but Lin Feng's move was still not enough to break it. However, Lin Feng was suddenly stunned. Just now, he suddenly realized that he could find some inspiration from the cyclic purple clouds for the second Dharma art that he had not been able to perfect. From a certain point of view, the cyclic purple chi's characteristic of repelling and isolating all things was similar to his own magic. Lin Feng thought carefully. It's not just Dharma arts. I can even get some inspiration from the 8 trigrams universal Great Way scripture. When the world was first created, clear air rose to become the sky, and turbid air sank to become the earth. The cyclic purple clouds was one of the clear air that rose to form the sky when the world was first created. It was filled with the mysterious concept of creation. Lin Feng studied the cyclic purple clouds, and his understanding of the void's creation deepened. This was a rare opportunity, so Lin Feng sat on the black light of the black cloud flag. He faced the cyclic purple clouds and meditated, silently comprehending it. Previously, Lin Feng had successfully built a beer platform in his sea of qi and became a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. For Lin Feng, the following cultivation was to build a pill cauldron on the beer platform. Once the pill cauldron was forged, Lin Feng could advance to the late-stage foundation establishment realm, and the great Tao of the golden elixir would be within reach. However, forging a pill cauldron was not an easy task. Forging a good pill cauldron was even more difficult. Previously, because of the system's reward, Lin Feng had established the Supreme Spirit platform. However, this did not mean that he would definitely be able to refine the Supreme Elixir Cauldron. It could only be said that the probability of success was much higher than that of cultivators who had established a Grade 1 spirit platform. Compared to middle-stage foundation building cultivators, late-stage foundation building cultivators didn't improve much in terms of magic power, but the importance of pill cauldrons was undeniable. What kind of cauldron would form what kind of pill? A good pill cauldron would directly affect the success rate of future pill formation and the quality of the golden elixir. Therefore, Lin Feng did not dare to be careless in the slightest. Now that he had come into contact with the cyclic purple qi, his understanding of Tao techniques had improved. It was the most suitable time to cultivate Tao techniques. What Lin Feng needed to do now was to activate his heaven's perception. The heaven's perception mentioned here was not about knowing the heavenly mandate or the will of the heavens. Instead, it referred to being able to sense the spiritual qi and qi movements in the world. It referred to being able to sense the various origins and development processes that had changed from order to chaos ever since the world was created. After middle-stage foundation building cultivators had activated their heaven's perception, they would be able to visualize the appearance of their own pill cauldron in their consciousness. With this appearance, they would then use their magic power to condense the pill cauldron. Finally, the pill cauldron would be formed and placed on the spirit platform. The cultivator would then successfully advance to the late-stage foundation building, the pill cauldron realm. Heaven's perception was a very mysterious stage. Even the system was unable to provide much help to Lin Feng. This was because this stage was completely dependent on the cultivator's own comprehension. Medicine would not be able to help, and there was no value in using the experiences of others as a reference. Many middle-stage foundation building cultivators would be stuck at the same spot because they were unable to activate their heaven's perception. They would not be able to build their pill cauldron even after tens of years. Some people would not be able to unlock this stage even after tens of years, while others would only need a flash of inspiration. It was extremely mysterious. After reaching the middle stage foundation building in this life, Lin Feng had also worked hard in his cultivation, attempting to activate heaven's perception. However, he had not succeeded. Now, with the inspiration from the cyclic purple qi, Lin Feng was able to grasp this hint of inspiration very quickly. At first, it was blurry and could not be seen clearly. In the end, a small black cauldron slowly appeared in the dark void. The black color was extremely pure, making one feel as if their soul was about to be sucked in just by looking at it. Silently, the image of a small black cauldron appeared in Lin Feng's consciousness. Although it was just an illusory image, it was extremely clear, and every single line was extremely clear. The small cauldron looked ordinary, and there was no light flowing out from it. However, it exuded a desolate and dignified aura, as if it was the beginning of the world and the birth of all living things. Lin Feng felt neither sorrow nor joy. However, all the magical powers in his body were activated, continuously condensing and tempering the small black cauldron that he had visualized. Like building a house, Lin Feng used every bit of magical powers to add to the bricks and tiles of the alchemy cauldron that was currently being condensed. First, he tempered his magical powers. After thousands of tempering, every bit of magical powers would become extremely pure, tough, and strong. Then, these refined magical powers would slowly begin to forge Lin Feng's alchemy cauldron. The four legs of the small black cauldron had taken on a real physical form. This was the result of Lin Feng's condensation of magical powers. As time passed, it continued to spread upwards, gradually condensing the body of the cauldron into a physical form. Although this process of turning from illusory to physical was slow and almost undetectable with the naked eye, the progress did not stop for a single moment. It continued to develop, bringing with it an unstoppable aura. Lin Feng sat upright on the black cloud flag with his eyes closed, ignoring all of the changes in the outside world. He was only seriously doing this painstaking work, not using any shortcuts or opportunistic tricks. If he wanted to be high profile in front of others, he had to be able to endure loneliness and put in hard work. Since he had embarked on the path of cultivation, Lin Feng was determined to go further than anyone else. Either he didn't do it, or he did it to be the best. During this time, Xiao Yin and the other three came back twice on the Fei Yin beast. But when they saw Lin Feng sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, they did not dare to disturb him. In the end, they could not find a way to break through the cyclic purple qi and were somewhat ashamed to see Lin Feng. The four of them were people with strong wills. Seeing that Lin Feng did not say a word, they made up their minds. They must use their own abilities to break through the barrier of the cyclic purple qi and enter Jade Capital Mountain. After an unknown amount of time, the alchemy cauldron in Lin Feng's sea of consciousness finally took on a physical form. His magical powers were injected bit by bit, and the alchemy cauldron finally buzzed. Lin Feng's body instantly shook, and his spirit shook. The alchemy cauldron finally took on a physical form, and the forging was complete. The black alchemy cauldron slowly landed on the top of Lin Feng's sea of energy. The moment the alchemy cauldron landed, it shone brightly. In the colorful rays of light, it was as if the primordial chaos had split apart, and all living things were born. The world was formed from then on. White clouds covered the sky, and the oceans flowed. The river of time that had lasted for billions of years rolled down. The supreme alchemy cauldron. In the future, it would definitely advance to the golden elixir. Moreover, the golden elixir would definitely be the best of the best. Slowly, Lin Feng opened his eyes and smiled. This is the beginning of all phenomena, the creation of all living things. He looked up at the cyclic purple chi and said with a smile, "Speaking of which, I have to thank you." Lin Feng did a few more breathing exercises to completely stabilize his Tao foundation. Then, he stood up and carefully sensed. After breaking through to the late stage of foundation establishment with the help of the cyclic purple chi, Lin Feng had a better understanding of the cyclic purple chi. He could even vaguely feel some of its principles and mysteries. Lin Feng pondered for a moment, then took out the heaven and earth mirror from his storage bag. The heaven and earth mirror flashed, and an earthy yellow beam of light shot straight towards the purple sea of clouds formed by the cyclic purple chi. The cyclic purple chi that was illuminated by the earthy yellow beam of light actually retreated to the sides. Sure enough, my feeling was right. This heaven and earth mirror really has a slight connection with the cyclic purple chi. Lin Feng smiled and looked down at the heaven and earth mirror in his hand. "So, you're not a simple thing. I seem to have underestimated you before." Chapter 131. The cyclic purple chi that was illuminated by the yellow light of the universe mirror retreated and tumbled about. As it tumbled, the cyclic purple chi and the yellow light gradually merged into one, turning into a virtual illusion, like a new small world. In the illusion, there was a vague feeling of the beginning of the world and the creation of all things. Lin Feng's heart trembled. He looked down at the universe mirror in his hand. Clear and turbid chi. The clear chi rises to the sky, and the turbid chi sinks to the ground. Thus, there is a world of heaven and earth. If the cyclic purple chi is the clear chi that rises to the sky, then the yellow light of the universe mirror is the turbid chi that sinks to the ground. The yellow light of the universe mirror neutralized the cyclic purple chi, which was why the cyclic purple chi had dissipated. Lin Feng now understood. Without hesitation, he immediately activated his magic power and urged the yellow light of the universe mirror to neutralize the cyclic purple chi. Wherever the yellow light went, the cyclic purple chi melted, forming one illusory, small world after another with the yellow light. Lin Feng took the opportunity to enter the passage revealed after the cyclic purple chi dissipated. With the universe mirror opening the way, the journey was smooth. But Lin Feng's heart gradually sank. He found that the yellow light of the universe mirror was getting weaker and weaker, and the speed at which it neutralized the cyclic purple chi was getting slower. Large amounts of cyclic purple chi began to fill in the gap that had been exposed. No matter how Lin Feng activated his magic power, he could not stop the yellow light of the universe mirror from weakening. This is terrible. The universe mirror's own power is limited, and the cyclic purple chi surrounding Yujing Mountain is too great. Lin Feng looked at Yujing Mountain deep in the sea of cyclic purple chi with a wretched expression. He was still a long way from there. In the entire sea of cyclic purple chi, Lin Feng could not even pass through 1/3 of it. The yellow light of the universe mirror grew weaker and weaker until it disappeared completely. Endless cyclic purple chi surged over from all directions around Lin Feng. It did not harm Lin Feng, but it pushed Lin Feng out without any hesitation. Looking at the sea of purple clouds that had gathered again in front of him, Lin Feng gritted his teeth in anger. He held up the universe mirror in his hand and communicated with it with his mind. Central Earth Divine Light. Is this the name of the earthy yellow light emitted by the universe mirror? Lin Feng thought to himself, the central earth element is indeed related to the earth. It's just that its strength is too weak. I wonder if there's any way to strengthen it? 2 light spots suddenly lit up on the surface of the universe mirror. There was a dim yellow dot in the center of the mirror. According to convention, This represented Lin Feng's current position. Not far from the yellow light, there was a red dot flashing. The red light was extremely intense, as if it had a life of its own. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Are you telling me to look for something? Does this red dot represent something that can strengthen the central divine light of fifth earth of the universe mirror? While he was deep in thought, a system notification suddenly rang in Lin Feng's ears. The host has triggered a random side mission, Central Wutu Divine Light. Lin Feng was slightly stunned. He entered the system and opened the mission description. Random side mission, Central Earth Divine Light. Mission background. The cyclic purple chi has activated the Central Earth Divine Light in the universe mirror. At present, the Central Earth Divine Light in the universe mirror is relatively weak. To strengthen the divine light, the host needs to find an Earth type, Fei, and nourish it with the Earth type essence chi. Mission objective. The host needs to obtain enough high-quality Earth type Feis and nurture the Central Earth Divine Light to a certain intensity. Mission time limit, 10 days. If the mission is not completed within the time limit, the mission will be invalid. After reading the system description, Lin Feng scratched his head. Reach a certain intensity? Who knows what you mean by a certain intensity? I'm not asking for much. I just want someone who can help me break through the cyclic purple chi and reach Jade Capital Mountain. Thinking of this, Lin Feng flew in the direction of the red dot according to the hint given by the universe mirror. In a valley 500 miles west of the Great Zhou Dynasty's capital, Tianjin City, the entrance to the Black Cloud Underground Palace had been strictly guarded. A small team of divine, martial military cultivators was guarding this place. The leading divine martial military officer was sitting cross-legged on the ground, silently meditating and practicing qi. The group of cultivators under him all had listless looks. There was no profit to speak of guarding such a broken underground palace, and they even had to worry about whether or not the Netherblood River underground would burst out. Suddenly, there was a wave of mana above their heads. The clouds dispersed, and an armored general descended from the sky. The divine martial military officer hurriedly stood up from the ground. The other divine martial military cultivators also straightened their attitudes and respectfully welcomed the arrival of the other party. The person who came had mana fluctuations all over his body. There was no doubt that he was a golden elixir period cultivator. Seeing the other party's appearance, the officer immediately froze. General Chun, you're not on duty today? Why did you come? General Chun said indifferently, I was worried about the Nether Blood River below, so I went down to take a look. General Lee investigated the Blood River once before. The officer's gaze flashed. He just left. Looking at the direction, he should be able to run into you. Didn't he tell you about the situation? General Chun swept a glance at him. This is not something you should be asking about. The officer lowered his head. I know my wrongs. Please forgive me, General. General Chun stopped his footsteps and stared at him for a moment. His rigid face suddenly revealed a hint of a smile. You're a cultivator in any case. Don't really act like a mortal soldier, okay? Those who are too dutiful and too serious usually die very quickly. The officer's expression changed greatly. He wanted to crush the spirit talisman hidden in his hand, but he found that he couldn't even move a finger. He turned his head stiffly, only to find that his subordinates all had pale faces and lifeless expressions. There was not a single trace of blood on their skin. You are not General Chun. General Chun knows that General Lee is not on duty today. The officer opened his mouth with difficulty. General Chun faintly smiled. Sticky blood suddenly seeped out of his face. His entire face was covered in blood and dirt. Dirty blood flowed down his face. In an instant, his face became clean again, but it was already a completely different appearance. That was the face of a young man. His skin was pale, and his facial features were ordinary. Only a pair of blood-red eyes were shocking. The heavy armor on his body also completely turned into dirty blood and disappeared. Only a blood-red robe remained on his body. The blood-robed young man smiled, saying, I originally didn't want to kill you guys. After all, Emperor of Zhou and the Marquis of Xuanji Zhuhongwu are not to be trifled with. But you just had to play petty tricks, then I can only kill you guys." He paused and smiled, saying, "I really don't want to kill you guys because your cultivation is too low. Your essence blood doesn't have any quality to speak of. There's no benefit in killing you." The officer wanted to speak, but when he opened his mouth, he couldn't stop coughing out blood. His entire body instantly collapsed on the ground, unable to move. He only felt his body become colder and colder, his life gradually leaving his body. The blood-robed young man lightly sniffed. Two faint blood mists immediately gathered in the air and were sucked into his nostrils. "That's why I said too weak." The blood-robed young man shook his head and walked into the Black Cloud Underground Palace. His target was the Nether Blood River Underground. Arriving at the lake formed by the Blood River, the blood-robed young man took a deep breath. The stench was unbearable and made people want to vomit, but after smelling it, it was like smelling the most delicious fragrance in the world. He couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. The smell of the true Blood River water is always so intoxicating. While speaking, he looked at the Nether Blood River beneath his feet and smiled, saying, "Isn't that so, Lu Yang?" A wave of intense mana fluctuations came from the Nether Blood River. Countless blood bubbles rose from the surface of the river. The true Blood River water seemed to be boiling. "Tangze, did you sincerely come to see me make a fool of myself?" A flustered and exasperated voice came from the bottom of the Blood River. The blood-robed young man Tang Zay laughed loudly and jumped into the Nether Blood River. The true Blood River water that pollutes people's mana had no effect on him at all. Instead, it became incomparably intimate. Tang Zay dived to the bottom of the Blood River. There was a ball of light flickering there, strenuously resisting the corrosion of the true Blood River water. Inside the ball of light, an azure-clothed sword cultivator sat cross-legged, holding up his long sword with difficulty. The white pockmarks on his face twitched, his expression maniacal. This person was precisely the Shushan sword cultivator Lu Yang, who was tricked by Lin Feng into going to the Blood River to block the spear hole, resulting in him being trapped by the Nether Blood River. Seeing Tang Zay, there was no joy on Lu Yang's face as he said in a muffled voice, "Tang Zay, what exactly do you want?" Tang Zay smiled and said, "Of course it's to save you." Lu Yang looked up at him. "You'll be that good?" "Of course not." Tang Zay said unhurriedly, "I'm saving you because you have the value of being saved." "What do you mean?" Lu Yang asked with a frown. Tang Zay glanced at him and said slowly, "Recently there's a Taoist Lin who's pretty active. Someone doesn't like him and wants to deal with him. You seem to be able to provide some valuable information." Chapter 132. Tang Zay said unhurriedly, "Recently there's a Taoist Lin who's been quite active. Some people don't like him and want to deal with him. You seem to be able to provide some valuable information." Lu Yang was stunned. "Taoist Lin?" Tang Zay smiled. "What? You still don't know what the other person's name is? That person habitually wears a long white robe and is dressed like a Taoist." Lu Yang's expression instantly darkened, his face ashen and his teeth grinding noisily. Tang Zay continued to say, "Some people saw him take in a bastard son of the Marquis of Xuanji as a disciple. That day, those Snowgale Remit citizens kidnapped that bastard son and came here. The people from the house of the Marquis of Xuanji chased in, but were completely annihilated. A few months later, the second steward of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji was killed by that Taoist Lin in the southern border mountain range." Tang Zay glanced at Lu Yang. "Of the people who entered the Black Cloud Underground Palace that day, only your whereabouts are unknown. Later on, you were discovered blocking the Nether Blood River here. I still know you. How could you possibly have the thought of sacrificing yourself to block the Blood River? Presumably you were forced or framed by someone." Lu Yang interrupted Tang Zay. "I fell for that little bastard's trick and got trapped here by a moment of carelessness." "Little bastard?" Tang Zay heard the thick disdain in Lu Yang's way of addressing Lin Feng, and his heart moved. Looks like this guy really knows some things that no one else knows. Thinking up to here, Tang Zay smiled. "No matter what, I'll bring you out first." Lu Yang frowned slightly. Even though the blood demon art you cultivate is a branch of the Blood River True method, it's still unable to control the Blood River True water, as if it's your own arm, right? Tang Ze nodded and said with a smile, "This requires the 9 Blood River banners on you. Speaking of which, I still have to thank you for getting rid of that annoying junior brother of mine. Without him chattering by my ear, the world really is a lot more peaceful." Lu Yang snorted and didn't reply, watching Tang Ze collect the 9 Blood River banners. "Rise." Tang Ze pointed with his fingers. 9 drops of dark black blood flew out from his fingertips and merged into the 9 Blood River banners. The 9 Blood River banners immediately changed. They fluttered in the wind and formed a formation, unexpectedly stopping the surging Blood River True water. What I train in is not the orthodox Blood River True method, but this place is also nothing more than a small tributary of the Nether Blood River. Tang Ze regretfully shook his head. "What a pity. In order to help you stabilize the Nether Blood River, I can't bring these 9 Blood River streamers away." Lu Yang gave him a sidelong glance. "Do you care if the River of Blood is stirring up trouble and rushing out of the ground?" Tang Ze shrugged his shoulders. "I don't care about other places, but this place is too close to the Great Zhou country's Tianjing city. Saving you is just a small matter. But if I really allow the Blood River to rush out of the ground, either one of those 2 people in Tianjing city would be able to squash me to death with a single finger. To be more precise, there are many people who can strangle me to death, even without those 2 doing anything." Lu Yang gave a long roar, his sword and body becoming one, transforming into a streak of sword light and charging out of the Nether Blood River. After being suppressed under the Blood River for over a year, Lu Yang's entire person was not good. His aura was incomparably manic. What made him even more depressed was that in order to resist the invasion of the Blood River True water, his celestial sword had already been stained with dirty blood. Who knows how much effort it would take to clean it? Tang Ze smiled and said, "Being stained by the Blood River True water, even if you return to Mount Shu, it would still be very hard to clean it." Lu Yang suddenly turned his head and glared fiercely at him. Tang Ze shrugged his shoulders unconcernedly, his face full of a mocking smile. "Since I was entrusted by someone to bring you out, I already knew how miserable you would be after being suppressed by the Blood River for a year. The things to clean the dirty blood are already prepared. Come with me." Lu Yang's eyes lit up. "Only one of the 6 great true waters, known as the Mother of all waters, can completely clean the filth of the Blood River True water. You actually have this kind of thing?" Tang Ze said as he walked out. "I don't, but the person who entrusted me to find you does. Just follow him." Lu Yang's eyes narrowed, not saying anything, following behind Tang Ze without the slightest hesitation. The 2 flew several thousand miles west together, landing in a secluded little valley. Tang Ze took the lead. Lu Yang followed closely behind, the 2 walking into the valley together. "You seem to look down on that Taoist Lin a lot." Tang Ze seemingly unintentionally swept his gaze over Lu Yang. "Apart from you, there's already a golden elixir period elder of the Blaze Sword sect, a golden elixir period consecrator of the Yu family, the 2nd steward of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji, Tao Er, the Great Thunder Temple disciple Wei Kong, for golden elixir period cultivators were defeated by his hands. Tao Er and that consecrator of the Yu family died even more miserably." Lu Yang blanked, saying flatly, "Impossible. How can a little brat at Qi disciple level 10 defeat so many golden elixir period cultivators?" A bright light flashed across Tang Ze's eyes. "Qi disciple level 10? Are you sure?" "Of course." Lu Yang replied without the slightest hesitation. "Back then, if I hadn't fallen for his trick and been trapped by the Nether Blood River, I wouldn't even need to use my little finger. I could destroy him with a single breath." He looked at Tang Ze from the corner of his eyes. "Those people also fell for his trick?" Tang Ze shook his head. "No, they were all killed by him in direct combat under the watchful eyes of everyone." After pausing, he added, "Among them Tao Er, as well as that consecrator of the Yu family and the Great Thunder Temple disciple Hui Kong. It was 3 consecutive battles against him. In the end, 2 were killed on the spot, and 1 was captured alive. Liu Yang was dumbstruck, repeatedly saying, "Impossible, absolutely impossible." After hearing Tang Ze recount what happened at that time, Liu Yang clearly let out a sigh of relief, saying resolutely, "It's that puppet. It's clearly that puppet that possesses extremely great power. That little bastard got lucky and somehow refined that puppet. That's why he was able to defeat 3 golden elixir period cultivators. Without that puppet, he's nothing." Liu Yang said in a low voice, "I'm sure that kid was only a mere Qi disciple level 10 a year ago in the underground palace. Even if he advanced by leaps and bounds in this year, at most he would just be a foundation establishment. He wouldn't even be able to erect a bier." Tang Ze slightly nodded his head. He agrees with Liu Yang's judgment regarding Lin Feng's Dao Law Realm improvement speed. From Qi Disciple Level 10 to Foundation Establishment Early Stage in a year is already the standard of an exceptional genius. Of course, the prerequisite is that Lin Feng is really as Liu Yang said, only having Qi Disciple Level 10 a year ago. Liu Yang nodded his head heavily. It can't be wrong. He does indeed have some kind of secret technique that blocks the outside world's judgment of his mana and Dao realm. But as long as he really makes a move, he can immediately be seen through. At this time, a clear voice suddenly rang out from within the valley. If that's the case, then things will be much easier to handle. Liu Yang and Tang Ze entered the valley and saw a white-clothed youth standing between a mountain stream, looking at them with a smile. "Qinggang, so it's you." Liu Yang came to a realization. "What? Your Taishu Temple also doesn't like that kid." Taishu Temple disciple Gang smiled. "He's just a clown, but he likes to jump up and down, disrupting some of Senior Brother Pang's overall plans, so I was ordered by Senior Brother Pang to get rid of him." Gang looked at Liu Yang. "I've already suspected this person's true cultivation. Now that I hear you say this, I'm completely sure. I already have a way to deal with that puppet of his." Gang slowly said, "But some time ago in the Gayu Swamp, he suddenly took out a formation map and used a never-before-seen formation to bury the Shenwu army led by a golden elixir period cultivator, directly destroying their Shenwu immortal execution formation." Liu Yang and Tang Ze looked at each other in shock. An army of 3,000 cultivators and a Shenwu immortal execution formation led by a golden elixir period cultivator. Even the 3 of them together weren't his match. Liu Yang shouted in disbelief. "How is this possible? Nothing is impossible about what has already happened. My men witnessed the entire process." Gang said, "But here's the problem. This Taoist Lin still didn't do anything himself. So I guess the key lies in that formation map. This person might not be powerful, but he does have some good stuff." Gang said, while forming a hand seal. "If it's just that puppet, I don't care, but I have to ask Senior Brother Pang for help with that formation." Gang waved his hand, and the stream water around him immediately flew up, forming a ring that floated in the air. It was as tall as a person. The light and shadow in the center of the ring changed and gradually turned white. It shook like water waves, and after a long time, it calmed down and revealed the image of a young man. The young man had a handsome face and was dressed in a clean white robe. The aura he exuded was light and gentle, without a hint of sharpness. It was like a breeze or a spiritual spring. Only a pair of eyes shone like the stars in the night sky. His gaze seemed to be able to see through one's soul. Gang bowed and said, "Gang greets Senior Brother Pang." Liu Yang and Tang Ze's hearts skipped a beat. This person is the current Empyrean Walker of Taishu Temple, Pang Jie. The previous 3 generations of Empyrean Walkers of Taishu Temple were all women. Back then, the seniors and juniors of Mount Shu laughed at Taishu Temple for having more women than men. Liu Yang thought to himself, "Is there finally a male Empyrean Walker this time?" The 3 talents of heaven, earth, and man, the cycle of yin and yang. It changes every 3 days. What's so strange about that? Just as Liu Yang was laughing to himself, a calm voice suddenly rang from the bottom of his heart. That voice came directly from the bottom of Liu Yang's heart, as if he was talking to him. Liu Yang's expression changed immediately. He lifted his head to look at the light and shadow, at the calm and relaxed Pang Jia. He was shocked. This person has such a powerful cultivation base. Not only can he read my mind, but he also has the primordial heart lightning superpower? Doesn't that mean that if he wants to, he can destroy my soul and take over my body at any time? Chapter 133. Lu Yang, who had always been rebellious, was now drenched in cold sweat. He looked at Pang Jia in the light projection again, with fear in his eyes. Despite being separated by an infinite space, he still had such an oppressive aura. The Taoism world walker was indeed worthy of his reputation. Pang Jia pointed at Lu Yang and no longer cared about him. After quietly listening to Chun Gang's report, he lightly said, "Deal with this matter yourself." He shook his sleeve, and a white light passed through the layers of space and landed in front of Chun Gang. "You can use this to break that person's formation." Chun Gang took the white light and looked at it. He was elated and said respectfully, "This way, I can easily deal with that priest Lin. Senior brother Pang doesn't have to worry." Pang Jian nodded. "If that's the case, then go. If the item is really with him, you must bring it back in one piece." Chun Gang quickly agreed. Pang Jia suddenly thought of something and asked, "Oh right, that person's disciple seems to be from the Shi family. He's only 5 or 6 years old now." Chun Gang nodded. "His name is Shi Tianhao. Half a year ago, he appeared in the Great Hengduan mountain range and had a conflict with the Wind God sect disciples at the south of Kunlun Mountain. At that time, he was already at the 12th stage of qi cultivation and was only 5 or 6 years old." Pang Jia said lightly, "After killing that priest Lin, bring this person back to the temple. Such a talent should not be left outside and covered in dust." "Yes, senior brother Pang." Pang Jia nodded. The light projection flickered and disappeared, turning back into flowing water and returning to the water below. Chun Gang turned around and smiled at Lu Yang. "Wash yourself first." As he said this, he flipped his palm and revealed a small, white jade bottle. The small bottle was opened, and a faint fragrance floated out. Just by smelling the fragrance, Lu Yang felt that his magic power that had been troubled by the tainted blood had become more lively. Tang Ze grinned. "Tiani true water, it really lives up to its name." "Of course." Lu Yang laughed heartily as he received the white jade bottle. He felt indescribably carefree. However, he wasn't in a hurry to use the heavenly true water. Instead, he raised his head and looked at Chun Gang. "From what you said just now, you're going to look for that Limbrat. Do you know where he is?" Chun Gang smiled. "I'm not sure about his exact location, but I've received news that he was active in the north of Kunlun Mountain not long ago. He should still be there." Lu Yang revealed a sinister smile. "I don't care what your Taishu temple wants from him. If you like his disciples, feel free to take them away. But I will personally take this kid's life. I will chop off his dog head." Chun Gang raised his brows and smiled. "Sure, if you're interested, we can travel together. I can hand him over to you in the end, but you can't touch the things on him." "Deal." Lu Yang snorted. Chun Gang turned to look at Tang Ze. "You're coming with us? I remember that you're also quite interested in him." Tang Ze lazily yawned. "I'm quite interested, but I've recently reached a critical period in my cultivation. I'm afraid I'll have to go into closed-door cultivation very soon. The Netherblood River in that underground palace is pretty good. The true water is pure, and the water isn't too strong. It's suitable for me to cultivate." Hearing Tang Ze's words, Chun Gang nodded indifferently. "I'll contact you if there's anything." After speaking, Chun Gang flew up into the air and flew towards the west. Lu Yang followed behind him and also flew into the sky on his sword. Tang Ze looked at their backs and shook his head with a smile. His body suddenly turned into a cloud of blood mist and disappeared into the air. Lin Feng followed the universe mirror's instructions and passed through the sea of clouds, once again landing among the peaks of the Kunlun mountain range. "It should be around here." Lin Feng rode the black cloud flag and sped through the sky above the Kunlun mountain range. After flying for over 1,000 miles, he stopped and put away the black cloud flag, landing on top of a mountain peak. On the universe mirror, the yellow and red dots were already almost close to each other. In the dense forest below the mountain peak, a strong mana fluctuation suddenly came, as if a ferocious beast felt that an outsider had invaded its territory. Lin Feng smiled and landed from the top of the mountain, entering the dense forest. Getting closer, the opponent's mana fluctuation was even more obvious. Lin Feng secretly estimated in his heart, 2 foundation establishment stage demon beasts. He walked forward, and what appeared in front of him was a huge cave. When Lin Feng arrived at the entrance of the cave, a deafening roar suddenly sounded out from inside. It seemed to be warning Lin Feng not to take even half a step forward. Lin Feng smiled leisurely and walked into the cave without a care. Just a few steps after entering, Lin Feng suddenly caught a glimpse of a black shadow flashing out of the corner of his eye. Lin Feng turned around and saw an incomparably huge body. With nimble movements that completely did not match its size, it pounced behind Lin Feng like a ghost. Looking at its appearance, it's a huge ape. When it stands up, it's over 3 meters tall. The surface of the ape's body is covered with stone slabs-like things, connecting together to cover the entire body of the ape, as if it was wearing a stone armor. The muscles under the stone armor bulged out piece by piece. Just by observing with the naked eye, one can feel the terrifying, explosive power within. The ape's eyes flashed with a dazzling red light. A strong masculine aura assaulted his senses. Clearly, the strength of its body is extremely strong. Lin Feng called out the Northern Aurora Sword. Right now, he's already a late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator and can perfectly control this Foundation Establishment stage magic item. Without a trace of politeness, a ray of Northern Aurora Divine Light quickly and accurately hit the ape's body, directly sending the pouncing giant ape flying. The giant ape was blasted flying by the lightning. After rolling on the ground, it quickly stood up again. Only the stone armor in front of its chest was damaged. Looks like this thing is outdated. Lin Feng curled his lips, putting away the Northern Aurora Sword, and sized up the giant ape again. Even though it's only at the level of a Foundation Establishment stage demon general, this giant ape's defense clearly isn't bad by relying on its stone armor. If the Firecrow young master doesn't use the true fire of the sun or lead the Firecrows to gang up on him, he probably wouldn't be a match for this giant ape in a one-on-one fight. Of course, Firecrows can fly. If they can't win, they can fly into the sky. Looking at this giant ape's appearance, it's most likely out of ideas. Lin Feng let his imagination run wild while looking at the giant ape pouncing at him again, casually pointing. 2 Realm Void technique. The space slightly twisted. The giant ape's pouncing motion suddenly stopped. Its huge body fell onto the ground. The giant ape opened its eyes wide in astonishment, wanted to turn over and get up, but was unable to do so no matter what. At this time, the pain of its soul being engulfed finally entered its mind. It shockingly discovered that its lower half had actually disappeared. Even though this giant ape has already reached the demon general level and its life force is incomparably strong, it still couldn't bear such a heavy injury. Letting out a despairing roar, it fell dead in the cave. Lin Feng smiled slightly. This giant ape's earth element essence is extremely rich, and the thing it is guarding is not ordinary. It should be the treasure guided by the heaven and earth mirror. You'd better behave yourself and don't make trouble for me. Lin Feng's eyes flashed slightly, seemingly inadvertently looking behind him, and then strode into the depths of the cave. A long time after Lin Feng disappeared in the cave, a thin figure suddenly poked its head out of the cave entrance. It was a green-clothed girl with a sly smile on her face. After carefully observing for a moment and confirming that Lin Feng has left, she ran to the giant ape's corpse with a smile. He killed a Wu Earthstone ape so easily. This person is so powerful. It's good to be powerful. The key is that he is also very generous. The more powerful you are, the more benefits I can get. The green-clothed girl giggled. With a flash of sword light in her hand, she broke the skull of the Wu Earthstone ape and took out a crystal-like thing. The essence of the dead Wu Earthstone ape has dissipated, and the skull was easily cut open by her. The green-clothed girl looked in the direction where Lin Feng disappeared and stuck out her tongue. There must be a lot of gains by following him, right? Let me think. I suddenly have a good idea. The green-clothed girl turned around and left the cave. Her pair of big eyes glanced at the surrounding forest, and her face was full of a sly smile. In this way, I should be able to get more treasures, right? He will be the unlucky one. Chapter 134. Lin Feng went deep into the cave. There was a huge hollow in the middle of the mountain. When Lin Feng came out of the tunnel, he was suddenly enlightened. The space was shaking with earthy yellow light, and it was misty. When he came into contact with the yellow light, Lin Feng felt that his breathing was slightly stagnant, as if he was buried alive in the sand. Such thick earth element essence qi. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In the center of the hollow, there was a basin-sized yellow jade. The jade was smooth and round like a disc. The yellow jade was shining with earthy yellow luster, and the thick earth element essence qi was emitted from it. A smile appeared on Lin Feng's face. It seems like this is the treasure that the mirror of heaven and earth has guided me to find. With such thick and pure earth element essence qi, it must be able to strengthen the central divine light of earth of the mirror of heaven and earth. However, it seems that someone doesn't welcome me to take the treasure. Lin Feng smiled, and his body disappeared. In the next moment, a huge black shadow pounced at where Lin Feng was originally at. The strong force directly shattered the mountain rocks, and in the midst of the dust, a strong earth-stone ape was revealed. It was even bigger than the stone ape that Lin Feng had killed before. The earth-stone ape roared angrily when it lost sight of Lin Feng. Lin Feng had already appeared next to the yellow jade, and he grabbed it. Oh my God, jade? Nurtured by nature, it can only be found in one of the 100,000 mountains. It is an innate spirit. No wonder it can nourish the central earth divine light. While Lin Feng was admiring it, he suddenly felt a slight movement under his feet, and there was a vague tremor. I didn't feel it before, but I felt it as soon as I picked up the mountain god jade. Could it be suppressing something? Lin Feng frowned and was secretly surprised. Before Lin Feng could think about it, seeing him take the mountain god jade, the earthstone ape flew into a rage and said, "Put it down." As it spoke, it suddenly took a deep breath, and its chest swelled up. It looked like he was about to unleash a big move. Lin Feng hurriedly dodged. As soon as he dodged, the Wutu stone ape opened its mouth wide, and greenish-yellow smoke spurted out in a straight line. Everything that came into contact with the thick smoke was covered with a layer of greenish-gray, turning into the hardest rock. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Can a magic power in this thick smoke petrify other things? When the earthstone ape missed its attack, it immediately took a deep breath and spewed out a thick smoke, aiming straight at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't dodge this time. Instead, he smiled. I can use you to figure out spells. The enlightenment Lin Feng gained from the cyclic purple qi was not limited to advancing to late-stage foundation establishment. From the cyclic purple qi, Lin Feng gained some enlightenment and felt that it could be used for the second self-created spell he was comprehending. Recalling the characteristic of the cyclic purple qi that repelled all things, Lin Feng raised his right hand, and his 5 fingers formed a knife. He gently waved it down in the air in front of him, as if he was chopping something. With this action of Lin Feng, nothing changed in the air, but the greenish-yellow smoke that the Wutu stone ape spewed seemed to suddenly hit an invisible wall. It scattered in all directions and could no longer move forward. It looked like a river had suddenly crashed into a sturdy dam. The dam didn't move at all. The river had no choice but to flow to the side, but it couldn't cross the dam. Seeing this, Lin Feng smiled comfortably. Sure enough, I've improved a lot. I just need to make some final improvements, and my second self-created spell will be completely formed. The Wutu stone ape was stunned at first, but then it immediately burst into an even wilder roar. Damn human! Normally, Its biological instincts might have alerted it to danger. But after Lin Feng took away the mountain god Jade, this monster fell into madness and vowed to fight with Lin Feng to the death. It had to take back the mountain god Jade. The two giant apes had discovered the mountain god Jade decades ago, but at that time, the mountain god Jade was not mature, so the two giant apes waited patiently by the side, waiting for the day when a mountain god Jade completely matured. When the time came and they ate the mountain god Jade, they were very likely to break through the bottleneck, form a monster core, and advance to Demon Commander. But now that one of its companions was killed, even a mountain god Jade was taken away by Lin Feng. The Wutu stone ape was completely enraged. Lin Feng was naturally not afraid of it. He smiled slightly. I can use it to familiarize myself with my new spell. As he was thinking, Lin Feng suddenly had an idea. He took out the universe mirror and shouted softly, "Search!" A yellow light lit up on the surface of the universe mirror, reflecting a red dot at the center of the mirror. Next to the red dot was a shining yellow dot, and not far from the red dot, there were two slightly smaller yellow dots. These two yellow dots were quickly approaching the red dot. Lin Feng frowned slightly. The red dot represented his position, and the yellow dot next to him was naturally the silly gorilla in front of him. The other two yellow dots represented two people approaching him. Looking at the intensity of the yellow dots, they should be at the level of the Foundation establishment stage. While dealing with the Wutu stone ape, Lin Feng spread his mana in all directions. Soon, he sensed two human cultivators at the Foundation establishment stage, rushing towards him along the tunnel at the entrance of the cave. Lin Feng could even vaguely hear their voices. "Brother, the earth element essence here is so rich. It seems that the girl didn't lie to us. There really is a spirit treasure here." The person who spoke was a young man in green clothes. His wind mana flowed freely and was as vast as the sea. His appearance was the same as Qin Tao, Li Xiang, and the others. He was also dressed like a disciple of the wind god sect. In front of him, another young man in green clothes rushed all the way to the depths of the cave. His facial features were exactly the same as the young man who spoke first behind him. They turned out to be a pair of twins. The elder brother, Zhang's son, snorted. "Even if there is, it is an earth spirit treasure. It is not suitable for us." The younger brother, Zhang Lin, smiled. "Although we can't use it, we can use it to exchange with others. I think we can exchange it for a suitable wind spirit treasure." He rolled his eyes. "If we can't use it, we can give it to Elder Lai Feng. You know that Elder Lai Feng is very proud and loves rare things. If this thing can catch his eye, he will give us something good. It will be a great harvest for us." Zhang San said, "I'm afraid Elder Lai Feng is not in the mood to be so relaxed recently. Gao Long has been missing for almost a year. There has been no news of him. Even the Fei Lian beast under him has disappeared." Some time ago, Elder Lai Feng finally sensed that the Fei Lian beast was nearby. That's why he brought us out in a hurry. Zhang Lin snorted. "I can't figure out what's so good about Gao Long that Elder Lai Feng loves him so much. It's hard to say whether people get along well with each other." Zhang San said, "Our direct master is dead. In the sect, we're like a tree without roots. We can't go on like this. This time, it is a great opportunity to come out with Elder Lai Feng. If we listen to him and do what we need to do, we might have the opportunity to join Elder Lai Feng." Zhang Lin nodded. "That's right." Lin Feng listened to their conversation and thought, so Elder Lai Feng is Gao Long's master? It's hard to say before, but now that the Fei Lian beast is in the range of the Kunlun mountain range, it's no wonder he sensed it. Lin Feng gathered his thoughts and focused on the Wu Earth Stone ape in front of him again. This time, before the stone ape could spit out thick smoke, Lin Feng was one step ahead. After approaching it, he gently waved his right hand in the air at its body. The Wu Earth Stone ape blinked its eyes and scanned its body. There were no wounds. The only exception was the thick slate armor on its chest, which had a long crack cut open. The cut on the stone slab was extremely neat, as if it had been sliced open by a divine weapon in one go. However, although the slate armor was cracked, the body of the Wu Earth Stone ape hidden in the slate was not damaged at all. Not to mention blood, not even a hair was broken. I see. Lin Feng was also stunned, but after thinking carefully, he instantly understood the reason. He couldn't help but sigh. It seems that this spell is not suitable for attacking. While he was thinking, there was a sound not far away. Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin passed through the tunnel and came to the hollow belly of the mountain. Chapter 135. Lin Feng didn't care about the arrival of the Zhang brothers. He continued to use the Wu Earthstone ape as a test subject to perfect his new Dharma art. With a light wave of his palm, the thick stone armor on the Wu Earthstone ape cracked. However, it still didn't hurt the Wu Earthstone ape's skin. Although this Dharma art can cut off Dharma power and spirit chi, it doesn't cut the void and hurt the opponent's body like the dual realm void technique. Lin Feng knew that although his new Dharma art had endless uses, it was not as good as the dual realm void technique in terms of attack. Even if the Dharma power used by the Wu Earthstone ape to make the stone armor was 10 times stronger, it would still be cut by Lin Feng's Dharma art. However, it still couldn't hurt its body. Lin Feng dodged the attack of the Wu Earthstone ape that had gone completely berserk. He thought to himself, the new Dharma art should have more potential. He was focused on perfecting the Dharma art, but he didn't expect his actions to be seen by the Zhang brothers, Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin. The twin brothers looked at each other and smiled. Judging from the fluctuations, it shouldn't be the golden elixir period yet. The power of the Dharma art isn't sharp enough. It can only barely break through the Wu Earthstone ape's stone armor. It's not our match. We can do whatever we want. The younger brother, Zhang Lin, laughed. Then what are we waiting for? Let's do it. As he spoke, he raised his right hand. There was a black bracelet on his wrist. Following Zhang Lin's spell, the black bracelet fell off his arm and flew into the air. Gusts of cold wind gushed out of the black bracelet. It was as cold as ice and as sharp as a knife. The elder brother, Zhang Sun, also smiled and raised his left hand. There was a bracelet on his left wrist that was exactly the same as the black bracelet on Zhang Lin's right hand. However, his bracelet was pure white. It was as white as jade and crystal clear. Rise, Zhang Sun shouted. The white bracelet fell off his left hand and flew into the air. The white bracelet spewed out waves of heat, but it was a blazing storm that was the complete opposite of the black bracelet. Combined, the two brothers held each other's hands and simultaneously communicated with the black and white bracelets hovering in midair. The magic power of two middle-stage foundation building cultivators was completely connected as one. Boundless magic power was poured into the black and white bracelets, and the cold wind and the hot and warm wind intertwined. Not only did they not clash with each other, but they spiraled and formed a huge tornado. The tornado continued to condense and compress, finally turning into a black and white spear. The tip of the spear vibrated incessantly, emitting an oppressive whistling sound that was filled with an ominous aura of disaster. Lin Feng glanced at them expressionlessly. However, the target of the black and white spear was not Lin Feng. After a vibration in the air, it flew towards the Wu Earthstone ape with an ear-piercing sound. The Earthstone ape had also noticed Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin a long time ago. His mind, which had been filled with rage because of Lin Feng, had sobered up a lot. The moment the black and white spear appeared, he raised his guard. Seeing the spear shooting at it, the Wutu stone ape let out a furious roar. It wanted to dodge, but it found that the speed of the black and white spear was far beyond its imagination. Almost in an instant, the tip of the spear had arrived in front of the Wutu stone ape. In desperation, the Wutu stone ape's demon power surged, and the stone plate armor on its chest suddenly thickened a lot. It was like a huge shield protecting the vital parts of its chest. The black and white spear whistled and hit the stone shield on the Wutu stone ape's chest, making an ear-piercing sound. It was as if a drill was rotating at high speed and penetrating the stone plate. In the earth-shattering scream, the Wutu stone ape's chest was pierced by the black and white spear. Even a sturdy stone shield could not block the spear. After the violent wind magic power invaded the Wutu stone ape's body, it kept raging. The stone ape's huge body weakly knelt on the ground on one knee. Two kinds of wind magic power, one hot and one cold, but seamlessly connected and integrated. It's quite in line with the laws of yin and yang. Lin Feng watched from the side and nodded slightly. However, Lin Feng was not grateful for Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin's actions at all. Judging from their words and actions, they were not helping at all. To quote a phrase from online games in Lin Feng's previous life, these two were here to kill steal. The Wutu stone ape raised its huge head, its eyes blood red. It stared fiercely at Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin, took a deep breath, and then puffed an unprecedentedly thick greenish-yellow smoke toward them. Dying struggle. Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin looked at each other and smiled. Under the activation of their magic power, the black and white bracelets on their heads vibrated. Suddenly, two kinds of wind, one yin and one yang, sprayed out. The cold wind and hot wind intertwined in the air, and soon turned into a huge shield. It stood in front of the two brothers, blocking the greenish-yellow smoke that the Wutu stone ape sprayed. The smoke hit the wind shield directly, and the wind shield kept shaking. However, strong winds swirled and flowed, continuously dissolving the greenish-yellow smoke. A look of despair appeared in the Wutu stone ape's eyes. The attack just now was the last attack of its demonic power, but it still couldn't do anything to the enemy. After dissolving the attack of the greenish-yellow smoke, Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin let out a clear whistle. The yin and yang wind came out of the black and white bracelets in the air again, turning into a huge blade and directly chopped off the Wutu stone ape's head. A huge head with bell-like eyes flew into the air, drew a parabola, and landed in the dust on the ground. Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin smiled, put away the black and white bracelets, and put them on their hands. Zhang Sun reached out and grabbed the Wu Earthstone ape's head in front of him. He cut open the head with a wind blade and took out something that looked like a crystal core. He smiled and said, "Although it is of the earth element, I think it can be exchanged for something good." Zhang Lin, on the other hand, scanned the entire space. The earth element essence energy is extremely dense. There should have been some earth element spirit treasure here before, but now it's gone. His gaze turned towards Lin Feng. "You took it away?" Lin Feng looked at the two brothers with interest. It wasn't that they were very strong, but rather that they were very strong. It wasn't because they were strong, but because he had seen twin brothers in real life, which was really rare. Zhang Lin raised his eyebrows. "What are you looking at? Answer my question." His brother, Zhang Sun, also looked at Lin Feng with an unfriendly expression. Lin Feng smiled indifferently and took out the mountain god jade. "You mean this thing?" The light yellow mountain god jade emitted a thick wave of earth element spiritual energy, as if it was the earth that bore the growth of all living things. Just from its appearance, it was obvious that the mountain god jade was not ordinary. Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin's eyes lit up when they saw it. "You know what's good for you." Zhang Lin reached out and grabbed in the air, tried to use his supernatural power to take the mountain god jade from Lin Feng's hand. Lin Feng smiled, holding the mountain god jade in his hand, and didn't move at all. Zhang Lin's expression changed. "You want to die? Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit." Lin Feng's expression was calm. He looked at their clothes and asked indifferently, "Are you also disciples of the Wind God sect?" The two brothers looked at each other, and Zhang Sun asked in a deep voice, "What are you trying to say?" Lin Feng calmly smiled. "It's nothing before I obtained your Wind God Sect's Dao technique, Wind God Formless Art. It's a pity it's incomplete. I wonder if I can complete the incomplete part from you guys." Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin's expression darkened. Zhang Lin laughed sinisterly. "Reckless thing. If you want to die, I will grant your wish. I just need to chop off his arms." Zhang Sun said coldly. Zhang Lin sneered. "That will depend on his own ability." As he spoke, Zhang Lin prepared to take off the black bracelet on his right hand, but he suddenly realized that his brother, Zhang Sun, was looking at him with a terrified expression. "What's wrong?" Zhang Lin was confused. He suddenly realized that his brother's face was splattered with blood. Coupled with his terrified expression, it was indescribably strange. At this time, Zhang Lin suddenly felt a sharp pain in his right shoulder. When he looked down, Zhang Lin almost fainted. His right arm had strangely disappeared, as if it was chopped off from the shoulder. The wound was spurting out blood like a fountain. Zhang's son, who was standing on his right, was almost completely dyed red with blood. That blood was his, Zhang Lin's blood. Ah! Zhang Lin cried out miserably. He almost fainted from the pain and fell to the ground. Zhang's son quickly supported his brother and quickly stopped the bleeding. Zhang Lin came back to his senses after a long while and growled, "My arm! Where's my arm?" Zhang's son was also at a loss. He felt a chill in his heart. He just saw Zhang Lin's right arm suddenly disappear, and then his body was sprayed with blood. "Hey, are you looking for this?" Lin Feng's voice suddenly entered the ears of the two brothers, hurriedly raising their heads to look over. Lin Feng had his hands behind his back and was looking at the two with a smile. As he spoke, he took out his left hand that was behind his back. In his hand was a broken arm, and on the wrist of the broken arm was a black bracelet. Chapter 136. Lin Feng took off the black bracelet. The bracelet seemed to have a life of its own as it kept struggling in Lin Feng's hand. "Seal." Lin Feng smiled slightly and used the Heaven Cage sigil to seal the black bracelet. Having one of his arms chopped off, Zhang Lin, who was already in so much pain that he was about to faint, before all of his mind was focused on communicating with his magic tool, the Sinister Wind bracelet. But now the Heaven Cage sigil suddenly cut off his connection with the magic tool. Under the shock of his mind, Zhang Lin spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't hold on anymore and completely fainted. Zhang's son looked at Lin Feng in shock. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent as he said silently, "Shouting to kill me. This is just a small punishment." Seeing that Zhang Lin wanted to make a move, Lin Feng didn't have the hobby of standing there and waiting for others to make a big move. Since he already knew that they were brothers working together, the two magic items could only display their power when working together. Lin Feng decided to cripple one of them first. This way, the other one wouldn't be able to jump around. The Two Realms Void technique was activated, directly swapping the space below Zhang Lin's right arm with the space behind Lin Feng. At the same time the space was split, Zhang Lin's right arm was also chopped off. Lin Feng's hand behind his back caught Zhang Lin's falling arm without any difficulty and obtained the black bracelet on his right arm. Facing Lin Feng's indifferent expression, Zhang Sen's heart was ice cold. He and Zhang Lin were twin brothers, so the magical items that they forged were also a pair of yin-yang bracelets. His yang astral bracelet could produce blazing hot astral winds, while Zhang Lin's yin wind bracelet could produce biting cold winds. Individually, although their power was extraordinary, they could only be considered average among Foundation Establishment realm magic items. But once the two bracelets were combined, the cold and hot winds, yin and yang energies could fuse together, forming a powerful black and white storm with incomparably shocking power, enough to run amok in Foundation Establishment realm. But the scene in front of them made Zhang's son feel despair. Before they could make a move, Zhang Lin was already heavily injured. Even his life-bound magic item, the Yin Wind bracelet, fell into the opponent's hands. Zhang's son gritted his teeth and said, "My brother was just joking with you. You're too vicious to be so heavy-handed." Lin Feng glanced at him and shook his head. "Your younger brother just said that he wanted to kill me. You, on the other hand, seem to only want to break my arms? I'm standing here perfectly fine right now because your magic power and divine powers are too low, not because you don't want to." Lin Feng sneered. "You don't have the ability to do it, so your arrogant words became a joke." Lin Feng looked at Zhang San with a bit of smile. "In your opinion, you came to kill me. I'm not strong enough, so I deserve to be killed by you. If I'm strong enough, I won't be killed by you. Then, this matter should be over. You don't have to pay any price? What a joke. Who do you think you are?" Zhang San looked at Lin Feng with hatred. Now, that Lin Feng was on the chopping block, and he was the fish. Anything he said was futile. As Lin Feng said, in Zhang Sen's original plan, it should be the two brothers showing their power and beating Lin Feng to the ground, begging for mercy, and obediently handing over the mountain god Jade. Then, he would very generously stop Zhang Lin from killing Lin Feng and let him live. But now, it seemed that he was just daydreaming. Zhang Sen looked at Lin Feng with a bitter face. When he saw this person fighting with a Wu Earthstone ape, he didn't have such a strange and overbearing method. I mistook a tiger for a pig. I'm going to suffer today. In an instant, many thoughts flashed through Zhang Sen's mind. I can only run. I can't continue to fight, or I will die here. As long as I can escape today and report everything to Elder Lai Feng, Elder Lai Feng will naturally find this person and avenge us. Elder Lai Feng is not enough. There are elders and patriarchs with higher cultivation in the sect. They can kill this person. Thinking of this, Zhang Sun did not hesitate to grab the unconscious Zhang Lin and raised his hand to cast a talisman. Feeling the fluctuation of the spiritual power in the talisman, Lin Feng frowned slightly. This talisman was not used for attack, but a teleportation talisman. It could break the void and teleport the user hundreds or thousands of miles away in an instant. The talisman was naturally a one-time consumable, and the user could not be sure of the location after teleportation. But this still did not prevent the teleportation talisman from becoming the most popular among all talismans. After all, it was fast enough to break the void and not easy to be intercepted by the opponent. However, the power to tear the void was a means that only cultivators in the Yuanying stage could do. It was not that there were no cultivators below the Yuanying stage who could break the void, but the number was extremely rare. Usually, only those who cultivated special Dao or Dharma spells could have such means. This indirectly led to the scarcity of teleportation talismans. Today was the first time that Lin Feng had seen this kind of talisman. Zhang Sun and his brother used the teleportation talisman to escape. Even if Lin Feng used the Two Realms Void technique, he would not be able to stop them. The other party also had the power to break the void. Lin Feng's Two Realms Void technique could only interfere. It was very likely that the location where Zhang Sun and his brother would be teleported to was not what they expected. They might even be torn to pieces in the void turbulence. But it could not stop them from staying. The talisman flashed. Zhang Sun, who was holding Zhang Lin, saw the space in front of him distort. He looked at Lin Feng, who was standing still, and his eyes were full of hatred. The next time we meet, if I don't tear you into pieces, it will be difficult to avenge my brother's broken arm. Lin Feng smiled when he heard this. There is no next time. We will meet again soon. As he spoke, Lin Feng raised his right hand. His 5 fingers were like knives, and he gently slashed in the air. This new technique can be named the Celestial Realm Barrier. In Lin Feng's Sea of Qi, the elixir cauldron on the beer platform trembled slightly. The magic power of the 8 trigrams Celestial Great Way Scripture was immediately activated. He performed the second self-created technique that he had been experimenting and perfecting. The Celestial Realm Barrier was a boundary in the void. It set up a barrier for the heavens and cut off the flow and movement of spiritual energy and magic power within the target area. As soon as Lin Feng activated the technique, Zhang Sun immediately felt that something was wrong. In the next moment, he was shocked to find that the spiritual power of the teleportation talisman that broke the void was blocked by an invisible barrier. Although the two of them moved in the void with the help of the teleportation talisman, they could not go beyond a radius of 30 feet. The void teleportation was limited to a radius of 30 feet. No matter how the teleportation talisman struggled, it was like a bird in a cage. No matter how hard it flapped its wings, it could not fly out of the cage. Lin Feng looked at this scene with interest, suddenly thinking in his heart, this heaven barrier of mine, using it in this aspect has a bit of the same effect as the Void Temple's heaven cage sigil. Yes, I have another direction to refer to. Sure enough, this technique still has potential that can be excavated. Lin Feng was obsessed with the technique and had a new understanding, but the two brothers, Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin, were suffering. They were limited to a radius of 30 feet and could not escape. However, the power of the teleportation talisman still brought them to continuously teleport in this narrow space. The feeling of confusion and tearing made the two brothers feel that it was better to die than to live. Only when the spiritual power of the teleportation talisman was completely exhausted did Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin fall to the ground. Zhang Sun was dizzy and vomited. Zhang Lin, who was already seriously injured, was tossed around like a dead dog. He lay on the ground, inhaling more and exhaling less. He looked like he was about to die. Seeing this, Lin Feng chuckled and used the Heaven Cage sigil to seal them. He then waved the Black Cloud flag and put the two of them inside. Just as he was about to leave, Lin Feng suddenly felt the ground under his feet move strangely. A majestic power kept vibrating as if it wanted to rush out of the ground. I felt a little vibration before, but it was not strong, so I did not take it to heart. Looking at it now, it is not an ordinary thing. Lin Feng looked at the mountain god jade in his hand and frowned slightly. It seems that this mountain god jade really suppressed something before. Chapter 137. Before this mountain god jade, what was it suppressing? Lin Feng was curious. Feeling the vibration under his feet getting more and more intense, he couldn't help but split a strand of his divine sense to go deep into the ground to find out. Not far down, Lin Feng suddenly heard the sound of thousands of ghosts wailing in his mind, piercing his soul. The strand of divine sense instantly disappeared like a clay ox entering the sea, as if it was swallowed by something terrible in the depths of the earth. Although it was only for a moment, but Lin Feng still saw the other party's true face and couldn't help but be shocked. Everywhere he looked, it was all red. Like fog but not fog, like wind but not wind, flashing a vast red light. In the red light, there were countless ghosts and evil spirits, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, wailing loudly. In the midst of the demons, it was like being in hell. Although it was the first time he saw the real thing with his own eyes, Lin Feng, who already had a lot of understanding of the Tianyuan world, still recognized the origin of this thing at the first moment. Infinite astral fiend, infinite one, the endless hell of endless reincarnation, the most bitter hell without a trace of hope of liberation. In the world, there were 7 great true fires, 6 great true waters, and in addition, there were 4 great divine winds. The void storm, the 9 netherine wind, the 9 heavens formless astral wind cultivated from the wind god sect supreme Tao art, the wind god formless art, in addition to the seamless astral baleful wind in front of him. These were the 4 great divine winds in the world, each with infinite power. When Gao Long activated his jade belt magical weapon to release the 9 heaven formless astral wind, it was only a tiny wisp, but it had the power to split mountains and cut rivers. It just happened to be resolved by Lin Feng's 2 realms void technique. But if Lin Feng faced the real, endless, 9 heaven formless astral wind above the sky, he would only be torn to pieces. The 9 heaven formless astral wind was extremely fierce and indestructible. As long as it could hit its target, it could crush most of the existence in the world. Among the 4 great divine winds, it was the fiercest and fiercest, and the infinite astral wind would erode the spirit of living beings. After swallowing the spirit of living beings, it would transform into the ghosts in the red light of the astral fiend, becoming a part of the infinite astral wind, never to be reincarnated, and could only move with the infinite astral wind. It was as if he had really fallen into an endless hell, and he would never be able to escape. Sikong Nan's 100 Ghosts Nocturnal Art, which had been killed by Lin Feng previously, was actually a spell that the 10,000 Ghost Sect's Great Elder had created after witnessing the power of the boundless astral baleful chi. But compared to the strange and overbearing power of the true, seamless aura baleful chi, the 100 Ghosts Nocturnal technique was nothing more than a toy. Therefore, when he realized that there was actually a seamless, astral, baleful chi hidden under this mountain peak, Lin Feng decisively retreated and ran away without looking back. Although the density of spiritual chi in the Kunlun mountain range was not the highest in the heaven primal world and was not the most suitable place for cultivation, there were many rare treasures hidden here. It was a huge treasury. However, the prerequisite was that one had to be able to obtain these treasures alive. Treasures always coexisted with danger. The seamless, astral, baleful chi before him was even more dangerous than the lunar true water. Lin Feng flew all the way. After exiting the cave, he unfurled the black cloud flag and transformed into a streak of black light, flying towards the horizon. After Lin Feng disappeared, a green figure suddenly appeared at the entrance of the cave. It was the girl from before. The girl in green smiled and cupped her eyes, looking at Lin Feng in the distance. "It seems that you are indeed more powerful. It would be great if I could know your whereabouts. This way, I can continuously attract people to find trouble with you. After you counterattack, I can follow behind and take advantage of it." The girl in green bounced into the cave. "Let's see what I can get from the two fools of the Wind God sect." The people of the Wind God sect are all rich. In a sense, you can also be considered as my treasure delivery boy, right? Ha 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 ha. Passing through the tunnel, the girl in green went all the way down to the belly of the mountain. In the vast space, there was only a dead Wutu stone ape. Moreover, its head had been opened and the crystal nucleus in its brain had been taken. The rest of the corpse had no value. The girl in green looked at this scene dumbfounded and let out a wail. "There is nothing left for me. Aren't you quite generous?" This time, she had misunderstood Lin Feng. The crystal nucleus in the Wutu stone ape's head was dug out by the Zhang brothers, and Lin Feng still had use for them. Naturally, he would not kill them easily. But in the end, the green-clothed girl came in high spirits, but returned in disappointment. Her hands were empty, and she didn't even get a single hair. This is really infuriating. The girl in green clenched her teeth in hatred. A small golden mouse that was the size of a palm jumped onto her shoulder. After squeaking a few times, it suddenly spoke the human language. "All right, wind chimes, stop complaining. You're always so greedy. You want this and that. Actually, after you get a lot of things, you throw them aside in the blink of an eye, right?" The golden mouse said unceremoniously. Zhuge Fengling wrinkled her nose. "What do you know? The satisfaction of getting something good is very wonderful." The gold-digging mouse on her shoulder snorted. "You just won't get anything without benefits. You don't leave anything behind." As it spoke, the furry, pointy ears of the gold-digging mouse suddenly trembled. "Fengling, something's wrong. It seems like some danger is approaching us." Zhuge Fengling's expression instantly turned serious. This gold-digging mouse was both her spiritual pet and her good partner. It was very sensitive to spiritual chi and danger. It could detect the whereabouts of treasures rich in spiritual chi and warn of danger. It was a spiritual beast that sought benefits and avoided harm. "Where is it?" Zhuge Fengling also looked around vigilantly. The gold-digging mouse's ears trembled more and more frequently. After a moment, it suddenly screamed, "Below! Below! Fengling, run!" Zhuge Fengling's expression changed. She also felt a tremor coming from the belly of the mountain. At first, the tremor was not strong, but it became extremely fierce in a short moment, as if there was an earthquake. In the entire belly of the mountain, rocks kept shattering and falling. The earth shook as if the sky was falling and the earth was collapsing. "I've lost a lot this time," Zhuge Fengling shrieked. She circulated her chi refinement stage, 12 magic power, and ran out of the cave. Under her feet, the rocks kept shattering. Red light flashed in the cracks, and wisps of red wind and killing intent emerged from within. The cries of thousands of ghosts echoed in the empty belly of the mountain, becoming more and more mournful. "That white-robed Taoist, I'll remember you. Don't let me. Io, what the hell is this?" Lin Feng, who was flying in the sky on the black cloud flag, looked back at the cave that had disappeared in the distance. He shook his head. "Someone seemed to be calling me just now." Lin Feng smiled. He had long sensed that someone was hiding outside the cave, but he did not know what they were planning. They had better not be plotting against him, or else they would know how powerful they were. The infinite Polaris aura was not to be trifled with. Speaking of the infinite Polaris aura, Lin Feng sighed. He now focused all his energy on opening up the heavenly cycle purple chi and entering Yujing Mountain. Otherwise, he would have tried to subdue the infinite Polaris aura, which would be another powerful magical power. However, even without the infinite Polaris aura, the nine heavens formless wind is still good. Lin Feng smiled. Although Gao Fan, Qin Tao, and the others all cultivated the wind god formless spell, it was incomplete. He hoped that the Zhang brothers he captured this time could help him complete the Taoist techniques. To be honest, although the nine heavens formless wind was strong, Lin Feng did not necessarily need it. He was currently cultivating his 8 trigram scripture of the Great Way of Heaven, which was better than the wind god formless spell. However, considering that the 8 trigram scripture of the Great Way of Heaven was only the first chapter of the Heavenly Tao Sutra, he believed that he would need to comprehend higher-level Taoist techniques in the future. Thinking back to his previous experience in creating the 8 trigram scripture of the Great Way of Heaven, which was only successful by combining 8 Taoist techniques, Lin Feng decided to prepare in advance and collect various Taoist techniques in case of emergencies. The most important thing right now is still Yujing Mountain. Lin Feng weighed the mountain god, Jade, in his hand. I hope this can allow the heaven and earth mirror to emit enough central earth divine light to break through the heavenly cycle purple chi. Chapter 138. Lin Feng flew across the sky on the black light of the black cloud flag and returned to Mount Yujing, which was shrouded by the purple chi of the universe. From afar, he could see the little guy's group of 4 sitting on the Feilian's back. They were slowly flying around the sea of clouds formed from the purple energy in the sky. On top of the Feilian, the 4 little fellows were deep in thought. Lin Feng quietly went to another direction and took out the heaven and earth mirror and the mountain god Jade. Central earth divine light. With a thought from Lin Feng, the surface of the universe mirror shone with an earthy yellow light. It didn't look dim, but it was extremely thick. As soon as the divine ray of earth element appeared, the mountain god Jade began to tremble as if it had a mind of its own, as if it was afraid of something. The earthy yellow light enveloped the mountain god Jade, and the mountain god Jade trembled even more violently. If not for Lin Feng's tight grip, it would have flown out of his hand. After coming into contact with the mountain god Jade, the divine light of earth element at the center of the yellowish earth became brighter and brighter, as if it had consumed a great tonic. The size of the mountain god Jade shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. The basin-sized yellow jade shrank to the size of a palm in less than a moment. In the end, the mountain god Jade seemed to know its fate. It finally gave up resisting and stopped trembling. Meanwhile, the divine light of fifth earth at the center of the divine light of fifth earth absorbed all the energy essence of the entire mountain god Jade. In the end, the mountain god Jade shrunk to the size of a pigeon egg. It was black in color and looked like an unremarkable stone. At that moment, a system notification rang in Lin Feng's ears. The host has successfully enhanced the Central Wutu Divine Light and completed the random side mission of the Central Wutu Divine Light. You will be rewarded with 1 lucky draw ticket. Lin Feng smiled and flipped the heaven and earth mirror. The earthy light of the mirror immediately shone on the purple clouds. The rolling purple clouds quickly retreated and made way for the purple clouds. Without any hesitation, Lin Feng immediately went through the path opened up by the divine light of earth element in the center. As the central divine light of fifth earth continued to neutralize the purple chi, the intensity of the earthy yellow light dropped again. However, the speed of descent this time was clearly much slower than the first time. Lin Feng paid close attention to the intensity of the central divine light of Wutu. Although the rate of decline was slower than last time, no one could guarantee that it would be enough this time. The closer they got to Jade Capital Mountain, the denser the cyclic purple chi became. Although he was protected by the central divine light of Earth element, Lin Feng could still feel the repulsive force of the purple gas around him growing stronger. Suddenly, an idea occurred to Lin Feng. While controlling the divine ray of Earth in the center to open up a path, he waved his right hand in the air. The Dharma spell of the celestial realm barrier came into play, fighting repulsion with repulsion. To a certain extent, it blocked the cyclic purple chi's repulsion towards Lin Feng. With that, the pressure on the mirror of cosmos was reduced by a great deal, and the rate at which the divine ray of Fifth Earth was weakening had obviously slowed down. Lin Feng was overjoyed. The central Earth divine light and the heavenly realm barrier worked together like a hot knife through butter, and finally broke through the barrier of the cyclic purple chi. Out of the purple cloud sea, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly opened up. In front of him was a majestic mountain that was as white as jade and 10,000 feet tall. It was 10,000 feet tall, and when placed on the ground, it was not that exaggerated. But when placed vertically in front of someone, it would definitely be breathtaking. Looking up at Jade Capital Mountain, Lin Feng could not help but exclaim, "What a white jade immortal mountain!" He could feel that the height of 10,000 feet was not the actual height of Jade Capital Mountain. It was just that it appeared that way. Standing in front of Jade Capital Mountain, Lin Feng had a feeling that he was as small as a speck of dust, while Jade Capital Mountain was as vast as the universe. It was not something that could be seen with one's eyes, but purely a primitive feeling that came from the soul and the heart. Lin Feng stepped onto the stone steps at the foot of the mountain and climbed up step by step. He did not fly with the help of the black cloud flag, nor did he use his void of two realms technique. He just kept his feet on the ground and climbed up step by step like a mortal climbing a mountain. With every step he took, Lin Feng felt that he had gained a sliver of understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Lin Feng did not keep track of time. When he finished climbing all the steps and arrived at the top of Jade Capital Mountain, it was as if he had woken up from a dream. He felt that he had walked for a long time, as if he had walked through countless years. But it also seemed that with one step, he had walked from the foot of the mountain to the peak. As long as eternity, and as fleeting as an instant. This Jade Capital Mountain seems to contain the principles of time. Understanding rose in Lin Feng's heart. Eternity and an instant are the two extremes of time. Understanding the principles of eternity and an instant also means that I have seen through the mysteries of time. Lin Feng walked on the top of Jade Capital Mountain. The top of the mountain was flat and open, but the most eye-catching thing was the towering tree at the center of the mountain that emitted a seven-colored light. This seven-colored treasure tree was incomparably huge. Its trunk was like a city, and the crown of the tree covered an even larger area. It blocked out the sky and the sun, as if it covered half of the sky. Every leaf was the size of an acre and emitted a lustrous light. At first glance, this treasure tree seemed to be much larger than Jade Capital Mountain. But upon closer inspection, it felt as small as a seedling planted alone on the top of Jade Capital Mountain. The two completely contradictory feelings of the greatest and the smallest perfectly fused together, giving off a mysterious concept. Lin Feng came under the tree and had a wonderful feeling. Profound sky treasure tree. Lin Feng raised his head to look at the majestic trunk, thinking, is this the name of this tree? People often say that there are 4 great trees in the world: the divine Wudong tree, the mythical jade tree, the ginseng fruit tree, and the sorrow iron tree. But there is no profound sky treasure tree among them. Lin Feng scratched his head. In reality, apart from Long Ye's mythical jade tree demon, he had never seen the other 3 great trees. Even Long Ye's body had long since been destroyed by Yin Mingwei. What he saw was just a wisp of his demon's soul. But when Lin Feng connected the profound sky treasure tree with the 4 great trees, he couldn't help but have that thought appear in his mind. What 4 great trees? added together, couldn't compare to this profound sky treasure tree. Is it my misconception? Lin Feng looked at the profound sky treasure tree and smiled faintly. Or is this your declaration? At this time, Lin Feng set up the black cloud flag and flew upwards. Over there, the crown of the profound sky treasure tree directly extended into the air, the top of which couldn't be seen. The crown of this profound sky treasure tree actually directly grew into an alternate space. Lin Feng was shocked. No, that's not right. It's not that the profound sky treasure tree grew into an alternate space, but that it opened up an alternate space of its own. This profound sky treasure tree opened up a paradise of its own. Lin Feng took a deep breath and continued upwards, stepping into the paradise at the top of the profound sky treasure tree. The light and shadow in front of him changed, and when everything became still again, what appeared in front of Lin Feng was a brand new small world. The rainbow light flickered continuously, and the sky was not blue, but bright white. The place where Lin Feng stood was dark green. On the dark green ground, a much smaller profound sky treasure tree was growing vigorously. Its branches and leaves were lush, and as it gently swayed, an aura of life rushed toward him. Wah wah wah. Why is there the sound of child crying? Lin Feng's eyes suddenly focused, and he looked carefully. He saw that on the green ground below the profound sky treasure tree, there was a fat child covered in yellow soil. It really was yellow all over. Not only were the clothes yellow, this fat child's skin was yellow as well, as if his entire body was molded out of soil. However, this fat child's crying was loud and clear, and his expression was lively. He was rolling on the ground, shouting many incomprehensible syllables. From his crying, Lin Feng could barely make out one word. Hungry. Lin Feng landed under the tree, came to the side of the yellow fat child, and carefully observed him. This yellow fat child turned a blind eye to Lin Feng. His eyes clearly swept in Lin Feng's direction, but there was no focus in his eyes, as if Lin Feng was transparent. The little fellow only raised his fat limbs and cried to himself. Lin Feng thought for a moment, took out the human world snack he bought for Tiny from his storage bag, and threw it to the fat child. This time, the fat child reacted. He grabbed the snack and stuffed it into his mouth, but when his eyes swept over Lin Feng, he was still in a daze, as if he could not see Lin Feng at all. When the food entered his mouth, the fat child was stunned for a moment. Then, he pursed his lips and spat out the food, crying even louder. Clearly, he was not interested in the human world snack at all. Lin Feng clicked his tongue in wonder and threw out a few pills that cultivators used to cultivate. The yellow fat child did not refuse any of them, and he tasted them one by one. However, none of them satisfied him, and he spat them all out. Kid, you're quite picky with your food. Lin Feng was angry and amused at the same time. Just as he was feeling confused, he suddenly heard extremely heavy footsteps coming from afar. Dong! 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 Lin Feng turned to look, and his eyes immediately widened. Chapter 139. Thump! 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 The sound of heavy footsteps came from afar. With every step the other party took, Lin Feng felt the ground beneath his feet tremble. Hearing the voice and looking over, Lin Feng was instantly a bit dazed. He saw a weak young girl who looked to be in her teens, slowly walking forward step by step. On her back was a gigantic sword case the size of a small hill. The sword case was 20 to 30 meters long, and its width and thickness were also a few meters. It was completely black without any luster, and it looked extremely heavy. Compared to the gigantic sword case, the young girl's petite body was disproportionately small. It was like an ant moving a mountain. The difference in size between the two was astounding. The sword case was tied with dozens of silver-white chains. These chains were all wrapped around the young girl who was carrying the sword case. Compared to the gigantic sword case, these chains were too thin. They were like silver threads wrapped around the sword case. However, upon closer inspection, Lin Feng realized that these silver-white chains were all tightly wound and were used to hold the sword case in place. Looking at the young girl, although she was carrying a gigantic sword case that was hundreds or thousands of times larger than her, she was standing with her back straight. She was like an unsheathed sword that was showing off its sharpness. She gave Lin Feng a feeling that if not for the sword case on her back, she would have broken through the clouds and slain the heavens. Her footsteps were heavy and slow, but they did not appear clumsy or sluggish. Instead, they carried an unstoppable and unshakable feeling, as if they would never stop moving forward. Lin Feng's pupils constricted slightly. He realized that the young girl carrying the sword case seemed to be the same as the fat yellow baby who was crying. She was completely unaware of Lin Feng's existence. Even if Lin Feng deliberately blocked her path, the young girl seemed to be unaware of it. She just continued walking as if Lin Feng was invisible. Lin Feng thought for a moment. In the end, he did not forcibly block the young girl's path. He wanted to see how she would react if she really bumped into him. His main goal now was to obtain the cave abode on Jade Capital Mountain. This young girl was strange in every aspect, so it was better to put her off for now. Lin Feng followed behind the girl with interest. She seemed to be completely unaware that someone was following her. After walking for a while, Lin Feng discovered that this girl carrying the giant sword case was actually circling around the slightly smaller profound heaven treasure tree in the Grotto Heaven. The size of the mysterious heaven treasure tree in the Grotto Heaven could not be compared to the size of the tree on Yujing Mountain outside the Grotto Heaven, but it was still shockingly large, far larger than any tree Lin Feng had ever seen before. According to the size of the circle the girl was circling, it would take at least 2 to 3 kilometers. From the looks of it, this young woman was planning on walking around the profound heaven treasure tree with a small mountain of sword cases on her back. Moreover, it seemed like he was planning to continue like this. Following the girl around, Lin Feng turned to the other side of the mysterious heaven treasure tree. On the other side of the mysterious heaven treasure tree, there was another strange person. A sloppy old man sat under the profound heaven treasure tree. There was a go board in front of him, and he was currently playing by himself. The old man's hair was messy, like a chicken's nest. His clothes were also tattered and dirty. However, he did not seem to feel anything. All his attention was focused on the go board in front of him. Lin Feng observed carefully and saw that the situation on the go board was constantly changing. However, it was not black and white, and the pieces were placed one by one. In the previous moment, the go board was filled with go pieces, and the situation had already reached the final stage. In the next moment, the entire go board disappeared, leaving only a few pieces. It was a new game. Lin Feng came before the old man, squatted down, and looked him in the eyes. As expected, just like the yellow fat baby and the sword-carrying girl, the sloppy old man also ignored Lin Feng's arrival, treating him as if he did not exist. Lin Feng stood up and shook his head, smiling bitterly in his heart. What kind of mess is this? This is ridiculous. Lin Feng had a lot of questions in his heart, but he forcibly suppressed them. I only hope that they will not interfere with my control of the mysterious heaven treasure tree and the cave abode in Jade Capital Mountain. Lin Feng flew above the mysterious heaven treasure tree and sat at the top of the tree. He infused his magic power and consciousness into the mysterious heaven treasure tree below him, and his mind instantly rumbled. In Lin Feng's space of consciousness, layer upon layer of sparkling walls, layer upon layer, densely packed, surrounding Lin Feng in the middle. This is all the power of space. Lin Feng was amazed. Every sparkling and translucent wall is the product of countless folded and compressed spaces. It is extremely solid and indestructible. And how could these walls be limited to just billions? Thinking of a mysterious heaven treasure tree opening up its own alternate dimension, Lin Feng immediately understood that the essence and concept of power contained in this wondrous tree was the supreme power of space. Once this thought came to mind, Lin Feng's entire train of thought was smoothed out. The mysterious heaven treasure tree is space, and the Jade Capital Mountain previously displayed the two essence of time, eternity and instant, which contain the essence of time. In addition, the The cyclic purple chi contained the aura and essence of life that created all things. Space, time, and life. These formed a complete world. No, that's not right. I'm still missing something. Lin Feng closed his eyes and thought carefully. After a long time, Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes, which were shining brightly. There's still thought, or rather, spirit. Life is not purely life. Flowers, birds, fish, insects, birds, beasts, humans, these are all created. But mountains, lakes, rocks, rivers, and seas without life are also created. With a whoosh, Lin Feng stood up and looked at the mysterious heaven treasure tree beneath his feet. Space, time, matter, and spirit. These four things form a complete world. Lin Feng's mood had never been as carefree as it was now. He felt as if his spirit had become one with the mysterious heaven treasure tree below him. It wasn't just the mysterious heaven treasure tree. Even Jade Capital Mountain and the cyclic purple chi around Jade Capital Mountain had established a wondrous telepathic connection with Lin Feng. Space, time, matter, and spirit. The four of them had become one, reaching a perfect balance. They were fused into one, as if they were an independent world. At this time, Xiao Yin and the other three, who were still wandering outside the purple chi clouds, were shocked to find that the cyclic purple chi that had been blocking their way all this time had actually all rolled back into the interior of Jade Capital Mountain. The white, jade-like mountain appeared before them, just like that, no longer obstructing them. As the four of them were still in shock, Lin Feng's voice came from the mysterious heaven treasure tree at the top of the mountain. Don't just stand there. Come on up. Xiao Yin and the other three looked at each other, their faces full of dejection. Looks like we've spent too much time. Even Master is getting impatient, said Xiao Yin with a bitter smile. Zhu Yi and Wang Lin all lowered their heads and sighed. The little one's big black eyes darted around. The mission hasn't been completed, so there's definitely no reward. However, Master won't punish us for this, will he? His three senior brothers looked at each other and all smiled bitterly. The four of them didn't say anything else. Dejected, they all mounted the Fei Lian beasts and flew up Jade Capital Mountain. Lin Feng saw that his four disciples had all gone up the mountain, so he planned on activating the cyclic purple chi to appear again. This thing is a very good protective barrier. It can effectively block off people who want to enter Yujing Mountain. However, as soon as he moved, Lin Feng's connection with the mysterious heaven treasure tree, Jade Capital Mountain, and the cyclic purple chi was almost severed. Lin Feng was greatly shocked. Carefully thinking about it, he discovered that he was actually in a very fragile balance with these three wonders. With the slightest mistake, the balance would be broken. If he wanted to establish a connection again, he would have to spend a lot of effort. At the end of the day, my cultivation level is too low. Lin Feng immediately thought of the reason. After all, he was only a foundation establishment cultivator. The mysterious heaven treasure tree and the other two wonders were also very powerful forces of heaven and earth. It was already very difficult to establish a connection with them. If he wanted to control them again, he would undoubtedly be overestimating himself. Lin Feng calmed himself down. After sensing for a moment, he had an idea. If I can cultivate to the golden elixir period, I might be able to control some of these forces. As he thought about it, Lin Feng suddenly heard the sound of system notification. Congratulations, host. You found a place that meets the requirements and is suitable for establishing a sect. Congratulations, host. You've completed the third main mission. Special reward for main mission released. Chapter 140. Congratulations to the host for finding a blessed land and grotto heaven that meets the requirements to establish a sect. Congratulations, host, for completing the third main mission. Main mission special reward released. The continuous system voices rang in Lin Feng's ears. After Lin Feng finished listening, he immediately smiled. Although I still can't control it freely, I at least found a suitable blessed land and grotto heaven. The system has judged me to have completed the main mission of finding a sect. Not bad, not bad. Let me see what the reward is. Lin Feng excitedly opened the mysterious treasure chest. What appeared in front of him was a tiny vine that looked very inconspicuous. But after clearly reading the description, Lin Feng was instantly overjoyed. The Timelight Vine Spirit Root can be rooted in the independent space of the blessed land, changing the flow of time in the independent space according to the host's will. The fastest it can be accelerated by 100 times, the slowest it can be slowed down by 100 times. This is definitely a good thing. Lin Feng was excited in his heart. Thinking about it, cultivating in the grotto heaven space with a Timelight vine is for 100 years. In the outside world, only 1 year has passed. How huge is the increase in strength? For example, Xiao Yin and Murong Yinran agreed to have a showdown 3 years later. If Xiao Yin entered the Timelight space to cultivate from then on, 3 years have passed in the outside world, and Xiao Yin comes out to accept the challenge. In fact, he has already bitterly cultivated for a whole 300 years. Of course, a cultivator's lifespan also has a limit. Along with the growth of cultivation realm, the lifespan will also increase. If one encounters a bottleneck and one's cultivation cannot increase, then one's lifespan has already reached the limit. At this time, if one still doesn't come out of the Timelight space, they will naturally die of old age inside. In reality, every large sect will open up this kind of accelerated time grotto heaven space for the sect's disciples to cultivate, thereby winning an advantage in the competition in the outside world. It's just that each sect's grotto heaven space has different times of accelerated time. That's all. The Celerida's sword sect has this kind of grotto heaven space. So before Lin Feng was actually still worried about Xiao Yin and Murong Yinran's arranged battle. Now that he had a grotto heaven that could speed up time, he didn't have to worry about being disadvantaged in this aspect. Although he did not know how many times the Celerida's sword sect's time paradise could accelerate, Lin Feng felt that his cosmic light space's maximum acceleration of 100 times should also be ranked among the best in the entire Heaven Primal world. Moreover, this cosmic light vine also had an attribute that allowed it to grow. In the future, as it gradually grew stronger, the acceleration rate would increase. Just as Lin Feng was feeling happy, the system notification rang out again. Main Mission 2.0. Set up a sect and recruit disciples. Mission description. An outstanding disciple. An unprecedented self-created Taoist technique and a paradise with an excellent environment. Congratulations to the host for completing the first stage of preparation and officially establishing a sect. From today onwards, the host will officially establish the sect's foundation and recruit 30 disciples with a total potential value of 25 and above to lay the second stage of the sect's foundation. Mission time limit, 10 years. If the mission is not completed within the time limit, the host will be killed. Lin Feng blinked his eyes. A disciple with a total potential value of over 25? His heart thumped. Potential value should be referring to the value of the innate talent detector's root bone, comprehension, willpower, and fortune, these 4 data values. If one were to calculate the total currently of the 4 disciples, the little guy's root bone was 10, comprehension 8, willpower 8, fortune 8, total 34. Xiaoyan's root bone was 8, comprehension 9, willpower 9, fortune 8, total 34. Zhu Yi's root bone, 7, comprehension 9, will 8, fortune 10, total 34. Wang Lin's root bone was 5, comprehension 10, willpower 10, fortune 8, total 33. Lin Feng had always been pondering in the past what the system used as a standard to select these 4 personal disciples back then. If there had to be a full value, then Xiao Yin clearly did not meet the standard. If there was a bottom line for every value, then Wang Lin most likely would not be able to reach it. Lin Feng had also once suspected that the sum of the 4 values had to reach a certain standard. Looking at it now, this standard is most likely the total potential value must reach 30. Only with a total potential value of over 30 can one meet the standard of a personal disciple set by the system. And right now, the mission mentioned a total potential value of over 25. This is clearly a group of inner disciples. In the future, the standard may even be lowered to recruit outer disciples or disciples. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. 30 people doesn't sound like a lot, but a total potential value of 25 really isn't that easy to reach. An average score of over 6 for all four, this kind of standard might be a bit lacking in the Taishi Temple. But in the Mount Shu Sword Sect and the Great Thunder Temple of the past, that's definitely the standard of an inner disciple or a core disciple. For the second-tier sects like the Celerita Sword Sect and the Blaze Sword Sect, a total potential value of over 25 is definitely a hot commodity. Wanting 30 of these disciples at once really isn't a small number. Even if the mission time limit was relaxed to an unprecedented 10 years, Lin Feng also felt that the system has finally returned to its deceptive nature. If I go find them one by one, how long will it take? Lin Feng very quickly made up his mind. Working hard to raise my cultivation and then make a name for myself, attracting talented people to come and join the sect, this is the right way. Thinking up to here, Lin Feng didn't want to waste even a minute. Immediately planting the universe vine spirit root into the small grotto heaven opened up by the mysterious sky treasure tree. The tiny universe vine attached itself to the shrunken version of the mysterious sky treasure tree in the small grotto heaven. As soon as it came into contact, it deeply rooted within, climbing onto the tree. The small vine that was originally only a foot long started to grow rapidly, constantly absorbing nutrients from the mysterious sky treasure tree. In the blink of an eye, it had already grown to over 10 meters long. Towards the universe vine, parasitizing its body, the mysterious sky treasure tree did not have any feelings of resistance, instead actively providing nutrients to the universe vine. The two powers of time and space created a perfect resonance. This small grotto heaven can henceforth be called the mysterious sky, time, light, grotto heaven. However, compared to the huge mysterious sky treasure tree, the current universe vine is still just a seedling. And as the universe vine spread, Lin Feng could clearly feel his connection with the mysterious sky treasure tree, Jade Capital Mountain, and the cyclic purple chi getting closer and closer. The four sides joined together to form a small world of Jade Capital Mountain. This small world is constantly becoming stable. To really achieve small success, Lin Feng still needs to form the golden elixir. Start accelerating multiple 100. Lin Feng thought for a moment, then gave the universe vine an order. In the mysterious sky time light grotto heaven, there was a strange and dazzling space-time distortion. After a moment, everything returned to normal. It's a pity that the universe vine hasn't fully grown yet. Currently, only I, as its master, can enjoy time acceleration. Silently sensing for a moment, Lin Feng felt that it was a great pity. Otherwise, if I called Tiny Tot and the others in to cultivate and raise their cultivation together, I could save a lot of time. I can only wait for a period of time. After the universe vine has fully grown, I can call them in as well. Lin Feng sat cross-legged at the top of the mysterious sky treasure tree and began his cultivation. The system's mission time was based on Lin Feng's own time. Therefore, be it in the mysterious sky time light grotto heaven or the world outside the grotto heaven, 10 years would always be 10 years. However, Lin Feng still began cultivating without hesitation because he firmly believed in the principle that sharpening one's axe would not delay the work of cutting firewood. Moreover, if he could not raise his cultivation quickly and control the small world of Jade Capital Mountain would continue to be exposed in the sky above Kunlun Mountain, easily attracting the covetous eyes of others. Before going into seclusion, Lin Feng also made some preparations. First, he set up the formation map of the yin and yang life and death formation on the top of Jade Capital Mountain. Without the cyclic purple chi, there would at least be an outer layer of protection. At the same time, he instructed his 4 disciples to stay in Jade Capital Mountain to cultivate and not leave the mountain. Other than the small grotto heaven above the mysterious sky treasure tree, they could move about freely in other places. Jade Capital Mountain was extremely rich in spiritual chi, and it also contained the principle of time. Xiao Yin and the others also sensed this, so they naturally focused on cultivating on the mountain. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed in the outside world. On this day, a large number of flames suddenly appeared in the sky far away from Jade Capital Mountain, instantly turning into a boundless sea of fire, igniting all the clouds in the sky. A huge fire crow with a wingspan of nearly 30 meters appeared in the sea of fire. Chapter 141. On top of the Jade Capital Mountain, the little guy and Xiao Yin both had characters that couldn't sit still. After they finished their training that day, they walked around the Jade Capital Mountain to explore the mysteries of this white jade immortal mountain. All kinds of wondrous sights and holy lands were visited by them. Zhu Yi sat under the mysterious heavenly treasure tree on the mountain peak and gazed into the distance. He felt at ease as he looked at the rising sea of clouds. The ancients were right. Looking far and wide, broadening one's mind. Flowing springs, flying waterfalls, and celestial energy lingering in the air. Master's place is really a good place. While he was thinking, Zhu Yi suddenly felt a deathly stillness. He could not help but frown. Third junior brother. This spell is filled with a strong, killing intent. He stood up and turned to the other side of the mysterious heavenly treasure tree. There, Wang Lin was sitting cross-legged with the underworld pearl placed in front of him. The underworld pearl projected a dim yellow ball of light. Within the ball of light, a tall and skinny middle-aged man in a hemp robe was howling in pain. Layers of black, deathly energy appeared around him, eroding his soul. This person was the Foundation Establishment cultivator Ma Wu, who was given to Wang Lin after being refined into a netherworld puppet by Lin Feng in the Great Swamp of the ancient region. Wang Lin was now using him to practice his universal Yellow Springs finger. Although Ma Wu only had his soul left, his cultivation was still at the level of a Foundation Establishment cultivator due to the characteristics of the netherworld puppet. With Wang Lin's current cultivation, it was impossible for him to directly kill a Foundation Establishment cultivator with the finger of Quietus. However, Ma Wu was limited by the netherworld puppet and could not counterattack. He could only resist bitterly as a live target, which was perfect for Wang Lin to practice his spells. Zhu Yi frowned. Third junior brother, if you have a grudge against an enemy, it's enough to take revenge. If it's really hateful, you could just kill it. There's no need to humiliate it like this, right? Wang Lin was slightly stunned. Then, the corners of his mouth moved as if he wanted to pout, but he restrained himself in the end. He was a standard pragmatist and disagreed with Zhu Yi's statement. However, Wang Lin didn't reveal that it was Lin Feng's arrangement, nor did he mention that it was Lin Feng who had turned Ma Wu into a puppet. If second senior brother doesn't like it, I won't practice it. A faint smile appeared on Wang Lin's face as he stopped the finger of silence and withdrew Ma Wu's soul back into the underworld pearl. Zhu Yi took a deep look at Wang Lin. He was 100% sure that once he left, Wang Lin would use the same trick again. Just as he was about to say something, Zhu Yi's expression suddenly changed. He turned to look at the distant sky. There, a large amount of flames suddenly appeared, instantly turning into a boundless sea of fire, igniting all the clouds in the sky. A massive fire crow with a wingspan of nearly 100 feet appeared from the sea of fire. Two figures flashed past as Xiao Yin and Xiao Budian ascended the mountain peak. They came under the mysterious heaven treasure tree and stood side by side with Zhu Yi and Wang Lin. They looked sternly at the distant sky where the fire crow Great Fei had suddenly appeared. Xiao Yin said in a deep voice, "From the intensity of this Fei power, it is on the same level as a cultivator of the Golden Elixir period. It is a Fei commander." The newcomer was the Fire Crow Fei commander that had slaughtered Li Chenxi and company. Its original intention was to search for the Fire Crow young master that Lin Feng had captured, but unfortunately, the Fire Crow young master had been trapped in the Black Cloud flag by Lin Feng, cutting off its perception of the Fire Crow young master's Fei power. As a result, the Fire Crow Fei commander roamed the Kunlun Mountains for more than a month without any results. The already short-tempered Fire Crow Fey commander was now like a volcano about to erupt. What an impressive immortal mountain! On this day, the Fire Crow Fey commander finally flew near Mount Yujing. Without the concealment of the cyclic purple chi, Mount Yujing was exposed to the sky. The Fire Crow Fey commander flew out of the clouds and saw at a glance. Young Master once mentioned that he discovered a wondrous cave abode in the northern foothills of Kunlun Mountains. Could it be here? The Fire Crow Fey commander thought as it spread its wings and flew towards Mount Yujing. Just as it flew about 5 kilometers away from Mount Yujing, it was suddenly blocked by an invisible wall. In the sky above Mount Yujing, there were countless faint beams of light that flickered indistinctly. They formed a gigantic and strange picture with strange trajectories and patterns. The Fire Crow Fey commander's beady eyes lit up. Someone beat us to it and has already ascended the mountain before us. They even set up a protective array. However, do they think they can stop me like this? It gave a sinister laugh as it flapped its wings. Black smoke billowed and blotted out the sky. The gigantic fire crow opened its mouth and spat out balls of fire. The scarlet flames had already turned blue due to the extreme heat. They were hot enough to melt metal and boil metal. This Fire Crow Fey commander did not have a true fire of the sun seed like its young master, so it could only release the true fire of the rising sun, the innate ability of the fire crows. However, its magic power was even more majestic than the power of the fire crow young master's array of hundreds of fire crows. The true fire of the rising sun was pushed to its limits and instantly turned into a sea of fire. Although the Fire Crow Young Master's true fire of the sun was powerful, it was only a small flame. The true fire of the rising sun released by the Fire Crow Fey commander was monstrous. It made up for the lack of quality in terms of quantity. The flames that filled the sky bombarded the faintly discernible array around Mount Yujing. Won't I still be able to break your array this time? The Fire Crow Fey commander was pleased with himself, but the next moment, his smile suddenly froze on his face. The aggressive true fire of the rising sun charged into the array. The array lit up with intense light and began to spin. As the array spun, the mighty true fire of the rising sun was completely turned into flowing water. Large amounts of water flowed out of the array and fell downwards, turning into a torrential rain that fell on the Kunlun mountain range below Mount Yujing. Although Lin Feng was in seclusion, the yin-yang life and death formation still reacted automatically in the face of attacks. That day in the great swamp of the ancient region, the yin-yang formation's heaven-earth transformation had flipped the sky and earth, burying 3,000 cultivators of the great Zhou divine martial army. Now, the same heaven-earth transformation had turned the Fire Crow Fey commander's attack into flowing water. Because it was operating automatically, the array did not counterattack. It only dissolved the Fire Crow Fey commander's attack. However, this scene left the Fire Crow Fey commander dumbfounded. If the other party was purely defending or even counterattacking to break the true fire of the rising sun, the Fire Crow Fey commander would not have such a big reaction. However, the yin-yang life and death formation's ability to directly change the structure of matter and turn fire into rain shocked the Fire Crow Fey commander. At this moment, a violent hurricane suddenly appeared in the sky on the other side, blowing away the clouds and revealing the figure of a green-robed elder. The green-robed elder also looked at the yin-yang life and death formation and Mount Yujing in admiration. Why have I never found such a good spiritual mountain cave abode before? It far surpasses the 10,000 years of foundation of the Wind God sect. This is the most suitable cave abode for the Wind God sect. We must take it. The Fire Crow Fey commander saw the green-robed elder and snorted angrily. Lai Feng, so it's you. The green-robed elder was Gao Long's master. After sensing the aura of the Feilian beast he had given Gao Long, he had brought the two brothers Zhang Sun and Zhang Lin here to find venerable Lai Feng. The Wind God sect and Flaming Mountain could be considered old enemies, so venerable Lai Feng and the Fire Crow Fey commander were no strangers. He glanced at the Fire Crow Fey commander. "You demon, how dare you come so deep into the north of Kunlun Mountain? Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to return?" The Fire Crow Fey commander laughed sinisterly. "At least you don't have the ability to keep me here." Hearing this, Taoist Lai Feng did not get angry. It was true that he could not subdue this demon by himself. Therefore, he did not plan to attack at all. Instead, he quietly watched the yin and yang life and death formation that protected Yujing Mountain. After thinking for a while, Venerable Lai Feng suddenly put his palms together and then separated them. A violent gust of wind blew to both sides, quickly tearing a vacuum in the middle. Venerable Lai Feng tried to use this method to separate the yin-yang life and death formation, but the yin-yang life and death formation operated automatically, turning the gust of wind Venerable Lai Feng sent out into rolling thunder. Boom, 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 boom. A few thunderclaps rang out, but the yin-yang life and death formation itself was not damaged at all, turning fire into water, turning wind into thunder. What a good move. Venerable Lai Feng's expression became extremely solemn. The owner of this place is not simple. The Fire Crow Fey commander snorted, but did not refute. Venerable Lai Feng calculated with his fingers for a moment, then suddenly took out a feather fan from his sleeve. The feather fan shone with a 7-colored light, and rings of light spread out, showing the strong waves of magic power. The Fire Crow Fey commander's expression changed. "You actually," before it could finish, Venerable Lai Feng raised the 7-colored feather fan and fanned it hard at the yin-yang life and death formation. Chapter 142. Just as Sage Lai Feng took out the rainbow feather fan, the Fire Crow Demon Commander's expression changed slightly. The fan looked ordinary, but it emitted 7 layers of light. The 7 different colored halos were layered on top of each other, and powerful mana ripples spread out. The Fire Crow Demon Commander had seen this fan before, but at that time, there were only 6 halos around the fan. Even the 6-colored feather fan made the Fire Crow Demon Commander fearful, and he had to use all his strength to deal with it. He didn't expect Sage Lai Feng to improve it even further and create the 7th halo. If it was used to deal with him, he could only turn tail and run. Sage Lai Feng raised the rainbow feather fan and fanned it at the yin-yang life and death formation. The 7-colored halo trembled, and a gentle breeze blew toward the spell formation in the distance. The wind looked weak, and it was nothing compared to the wind spell Sage Lai Feng had just cast. However, this breeze actually had a tangible form. Like the 7-colored feather fan, it flickered with 7-colored light. The Fire Crow Demon Commander stared at the rainbow feather fan solemnly, while Sage Lai Feng showed a satisfied smile. Not long ago, he had also refined the 7th halo of his gold core stage magic tool, the rainbow feather fan, causing its overall power to rise by a level. The rainbow feather wind specialized in breaking immortal mana. It looked weak, but it silently dissolved the opponent's spiritual chi. Be it spells, artifacts, or formations, they would all be dissolved by the rainbow feather wind and then disappear. Sage Lai Feng believed that although the yin-yang life and death formation was profound, it couldn't block his rainbow feather wind. Indeed, everything seemed to be as he expected. After the rainbow feather wind touched the formation, it silently seeped in, and the yin-yang life and death formation didn't seem to react at all. The Fire Crow Demon Commander's expression became even more solemn, and he thought, "This old fart's rainbow feather wind is really insidious. I have to be careful and not fall into his trap unknowingly." The formation in the sky gradually disappeared, as if it had been dissolved by the rainbow feather wind and no longer existed. Sage Lai Feng glanced at the Fire Crow Demon Commander. "Evildoer, I have important matters to attend to today, so I won't argue with you for now. If you know what's good for you, leave the Kunlun mountain range quickly. If I meet you again, you won't be so kind." The Fire Crow Demon Commander's face was dark, and he did not make sound. Reverend Lai Feng smiled faintly and flew toward Mount Yujing by himself. Buzz! Unexpectedly, he hadn't flown far when a strong light suddenly shone in front of him. The gigantic magic array flashed in the sky once more, and a tremendous force sent Sage Lai Feng, who had crashed into it, flying. Caught off guard, Reverend Lai Feng was jolted downward. He only managed to stop himself after much difficulty, preventing himself from falling headfirst into Mount Kunlun. Ha 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 ha! The Fire Crow Demon Commander was first taken aback when he saw this. Soon after, he burst into uncontrollable laughter. Taoist Master Lai Feng was in a sorry state. He flew into a rage out of humiliation from the Fire Crow Demon Marshal's laughter. He raised his hand and sent out another 7-colored gust of wind. Take this, monster! The Fire Crow Demon Commander was already prepared for this. It flapped its wings and dodged the attack. At the same time, it let out a strange laugh. Old fart. Aren't you going to hurry up and get back to work? Ha 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 ha! On the peak of Jade Capital Mountain, Xiao Yin and his fellow disciples were also laughing heartily. From inside the magic array, they could clearly see that the yin and yang life and death formation had never disappeared at all. The power of Reverend Lai Feng's 7-colored wind came from the 7-colored treasured light. The power of the wind was actually not worth mentioning. The moment it entered the magic array, the 7-colored treasured light disappeared, and the light breeze was transformed by the magic array into an extremely weak bolt of lightning. Even the sound of thunder was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Therefore, Reverend Lai Feng, who was outside, did not realize that his 7-colored wind had already been neutralized by the magic array from the very beginning. Without any external attacks, the magic array naturally returned to normal. It was not destroyed by his 7-colored wind. How ugly! A clear voice suddenly rang out from the horizon. Reverend Lai Feng and the Fire Crow Demon Marshal were shocked. They turned their heads to look at the horizon and saw a dazzling sword light streaking across the sky, rapidly approaching them. However, what was even more eye-catching than the sword light was a white, auspicious cloud. It looked as if it could be blown away by a gust of wind, but its flying speed was even faster than the sword light. In the blink of an eye, the auspicious cloud and the sword light arrived before them. When they stopped, the silhouettes of 2 young men appeared. On one of the flying swords stood a young man wearing a green bamboo hat. His skin was pale, and there were a few white pockmarks on his face. He had a proud expression on his face. He was a disciple of Shu Mountain's golden elixir period, Lu Yang. The other young man standing on the white auspicious cloud had a smile on his face. He was a direct disciple of the world's #1 holy land, Taishu Temple, Chungang. Although Chungang and Lu Yang did not say anything, just the aura of their magic power was enough to make Reverend Lai Feng and the Fire Crow Demon Marshal wary. Reverend Lai Feng sized up Chungang. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. He coughed dryly and asked tentatively, "Are you the direct disciple of Taishu Temple, Chungang's friend Chun?" Chungang turned to look at him and said, "Reverend Lai Feng of the Wind God Sect, right? I remember you too." Reverend Lai Feng was pleasantly surprised. He nodded and smiled. "Friend Chen once visited my Wind God Sect. Now that we've met again, you look even better than before." Although he was smiling, he was actually wailing in his heart. Now that Yujing Mountain had fallen into Taishu Temple's sights, their Wind God Sect would definitely have nothing to do with it anymore. As expected, Chungang smiled. "I'm here for some business. I'll talk to you after I'm done." Turning to look at the yin-yang life and death formation in Yujing Mountain, Chungang carefully sized them up for a moment. Lu Yang frowned. "Are you sure this is the spirit formation set up by that Lin B. starred?" Chungang nodded. "I can't be wrong." Lu Yang looked at Yujing Mountain and suddenly said, "Chungang, everything else is negotiable. That B** star's life is mine. Shushan must have a share of this immortal mountain. It's not something that I can give up just because I say so." Chungang smiled and walked to the front of the yin-yang life and death formation. Silently, he said, "I'm Chungang, a disciple of Taishu Temple who has entered the secular world. Under the orders of the current Taoism world wayfarer, I have an order for cultivator Lin Feng. Lin Feng, quickly come out and listen to the order. Lin Feng, quickly come out and listen to the order. Quickly come out and listen to the order. Chun Gang's voice resounded through the sky, echoing endlessly between heaven and earth. After a long time, there was no response from Yujing Mountain. Lin Feng was in seclusion, so even if he heard it, he would turn a deaf ear to it. Tiny Tot and the other three were dissatisfied with the commanding tone of the other party. However, they knew that Chun Gang was a cultivator in the Golden Elixir period, so they could only bear with it. Seeing that there was no response from Yujing Mountain, Chun Gang smiled gently. If you're not coming out, then I'll go in. Looking at the yin-yang life and death formation, he clapped his hands and exclaimed, "This is a pretty good formation. You're quite lucky. However, it's a pity that compared to my Taishu temple, your foundation is still very shallow." As he spoke, Chun Gang did not make a move himself. He knew that if he tried to touch the yin-yang life and death formation with his own cultivation base, he would most likely be humiliated like the Fire Crow Demon Marshal and Taoist Master Lai Feng. Therefore, Chun Gang immediately took out the treasure that Pang Jia had given him to break Lin Feng's formation. Rise! Chun Gang made a hand seal with his left hand and tossed out a small drum with his right. The small drum flew into the air and grew with the wind. Soon, it turned into a giant drum that was 6 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. The drum was covered in mysterious patterns and was filled with a frightening power. When the drum appeared, everyone, be it Xiao Yin and the others on Yujing Mountain, the Fire Crow Demon Marshal and Taoist Master Lai Feng outside, or even Lu Yang, who was beside Chun Gang, felt their hearts skip a beat. This giant drum was like a supreme ruler that had descended from the heavens to control the fate of the world and the life and death of all living things. When Taoist Master Lai Feng saw the giant drum, he blurted out, "The nemesis of formations, the supreme array-breaking drum." The supreme array-breaking drum was one of the Taishu drum's guardian treasures. It was a treasure that could suppress the fate of the world. Unlike other Dharma artifacts of various grades, the supreme array-breaking drum was a powerful Dharma treasure. Only primordial soul adepts could refine Dharma treasures, and the supreme array-breaking drum could even kill primordial soul mighty figures. No, this isn't the real supreme array-breaking drum. Taoist Master Lai Feng quickly reacted. If it was the real supreme array-breaking drum, its aura would be enough to kill everyone present, let alone the sound of the drum. This giant drum should be a replica of the supreme array-breaking drum. Someone had refined such a giant drum based on the intent of the supreme array-breaking drum's power. This person should be a Yuanian cultivator. The miniature supreme array-breaking drum that he had refined was a Yuanian Dharma treasure. But even so, this drum was definitely a treasure that would cause one's heart to tremble. My Taishu temple controls the world. You should have obediently offered such a good formation to me. Instead, you're using it to stop me from entering. You're really a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Facing the yin and yang life and death formation, Chun Gang smiled and clapped his hands lightly. Today, I'll hand over your formation diagram and then reason with you. Boom, boom, boom. The giant drum in the air immediately let out an earth-shattering sound. Chapter 143. The imitation of the supreme formation breaking drum had earth-shattering sounds. Although it was an imitation, it had fully inherited the drum's miraculous power to destroy all kinds of formations. Back when the Great Thunderclap Temple's Vairocana formation was destroyed by the Great Zhou Dynasty's Divine Martial Immortal Execution formation, it was all thanks to the supreme formation breaking drum. The drum sounds turned into ripples that almost solidified and surged towards the yin-yang life and death formation like a tidal wave. The yin-yang life and death formation reacted immediately, as if it was facing a great enemy. The light kept changing and evolving to defend against the attack of the supreme formation breaking drum. However, The yin-yang life and death formation before them had neither a treasure to suppress the formation core nor any materials to set it up. It completely relied on a formation diagram to circulate the surrounding spiritual qi to form the formation. Lin Feng couldn't control the formation himself, so the yin-yang life and death formation operated on its own. Under such circumstances, even the divine martial immortal execution formation in the great swamp of the ancient region would be a completely different situation, let alone the supreme formation breaking drum's ability to counter all formations. Amidst the drum sounds, the lines of light that formed the yin-yang life and death formation resisted bit by bit, but collapsed bit by bit. In the end, the entire formation could no longer withstand the pressure and shattered. All the light gathered into a single point and turned into a small formation diagram. It flew into the sky and entered the small grotto heaven created by the mysterious sky treasure tree. Chen Gang's eyes flashed. It'll be mine in the end. Liu Yang, who was beside him, couldn't wait any longer. He took the lead and charged up Jade Capital Mountain, shouting, "Little bastard Lin, get out here." The Fire Crow, Demon Marshal, and Venerable Lai Feng looked at each other and hesitated for a moment before flying up Jade Capital Mountain as well. Although Chun Gang was the last to land, he had already become the leader of the group. He looked around with a satisfied smile. "If you don't come out, don't blame me for dragging you out and making you lose face in front of your disciple." The top of the mysterious sky treasure tree reached into the void. There was a much smaller mysterious sky treasure tree growing there. This shrunken version of the mystic heaven treasure tree was now covered in pale golden vines. The mysterious sky treasure tree didn't feel any repulsion towards the vines that were obviously parasitic on its body. Instead, the two reached a perfect harmony, as if they were one. At the top of the crown of this treasure tree, Lin Feng sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. A month had passed in the outside Great Thousand Worlds, but the time the mysterious Heaven Time-Light Utopia had been accelerated by 100 times, which meant that 100 months had passed. Lin Feng had been cultivating in seclusion in the Grotto Heaven for more than 8 years. In the past 8 years, Lin Feng had been painstakingly studying Taoist techniques. His body was full of mana, and he had reached the peak of the foundational level. He was only one step away from the core formation. Suddenly, a flowing light flew in from outside the cave and landed in front of Lin Feng. It was the formation map of the yin and yang life and death formation. Lin Feng didn't even glance at the diagram, as if he didn't notice it at all. At this moment, all of his attention was focused on the spiritual power sea in his body and the pill cauldron on top of his beer. In the supreme pill cauldron, rolling purple qi kept surging, combining with Lin Feng's mana of the 8 trigrams of the Great Way and refining it together. In the purple qi, the universe, stars, mountains, rivers, wind, thunder, birds, beasts, humans, ghosts, demons, immortals, and countless other phenomena rose and disappeared, merging into a round shadow. This ball-shaped shadow was also rolling in the purple mist, emitting a faint golden glow. This was the embryonic form of the golden elixir, but it was still illusory and far from the real golden elixir. In the past 8 years, Lin Feng spent most of his time accumulating his mana in preparation for forming the golden elixir. But how could forming the core be so easy? On the path of cultivation, the qi refinement stage was just a preparatory stage. The foundational building stage was the real beginning of laying the foundation, and only when the golden elixir was formed could one be said to have truly set foot on the path of cultivation. Why did he say that? Because the qi refinement stage basically didn't increase the lifespan of a cultivator. The normal lifespan of a cultivator at the peak of the foundational building stage was no more than 200 to 300 years. Only after forming the golden elixir, the cultivator's lifespan would skyrocket to more than 1,000 years, truly going against the heavens and struggling against fate. That was why there was a saying in the cultivation world, swallow a golden elixir and break through the door of life and death. Forming the golden elixir would break through the limit of a human's normal lifespan, break through the door of life and death and obtain 1,000 years of freedom, with enough time to continue to explore and comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth. Gold was immortal, existing for thousands of years, and was called the Golden Elixir. To achieve this, in addition to accumulating enough mana and spiritual qi, one also needed to comprehend the dilemma of life and death. Recently, Lin Feng's thoughts had entered a very strange state. On one hand, he focused all his mind to comprehend the Tao, accumulate spiritual qi, and polish his mana. On the other hand, countless messy and disorderly images flashed through Lin Feng's mind. There were all kinds of strange things. There were the various things he had experienced after coming to the great heaven primordial world, from the confusion and hesitation when he first came to the new world, to the process of taking Tiny Tot and the other three as disciples, and then to the process of searching for Jade Capital Mountain. Other than that, there were also many memories from his previous life. Some of the things that had been so long ago that he could barely remember clearly, for some reason, had resurfaced in Lin Feng's mind during this period of time. They were clear, detailed, and clear. Running wildly on the road when he was a child, flirting with his female classmates in elementary school, sweating on the basketball court in middle school, losing sleep the night before the college entrance examination. The aura around Lin Feng gradually quietened down until it completely disappeared in the end. It was as if his entire person had turned into a corpse with no signs of life left. In the next breath, the aura of life returned to Lin Feng's body, and his entire person became alive again. Nirvana and revival. The two states alternated on Lin Feng's body. There is a great horror between life and death. Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes. Is there a way to resolve this great horror? Birth, old age, sickness, and death were all for life. Success, progress, destruction, and emptiness were all for creation. After life passed away and creation was annihilated, it did not end there. Instead, it began anew and entered the next cycle. This cycle repeated without stopping. The end was for a new beginning. This kind of unwavering will was the true essence of eternity. There was no one who was forever good or immortal. Instead, after decay and collapse, one would obtain a new life and start anew. The immortal nature of metal was the embodiment of this kind of unwavering will. It was the key to forming the golden elixir. Whether a cultivator could form the golden elixir did not depend on whether they did good or evil, whether they were open-minded or narrow-minded, whether they were virtuous or despicable, and whether they were diligent or lazy. To form the golden elixir, the key was to have an unwavering will and belief. It was to create fearlessness and courage in the face of the great horror between life and death. With such fearlessness, courage, and perseverance, one could break through the door of undeserved life and death. A smile suddenly appeared on Lin Feng's face. I'm coming. The magic and spiritual energy in the pill cauldron vibrated at the same time and merged into the golden elixir shadow. The shadow suddenly shone brightly. The golden light gradually turned purple, and from within the purple light, a pleasant celestial sound faintly sounded. It was like a song of salvation, coming from an extremely distant place and filled with the most mysterious principles of the world. In the center of the purple light, a round golden elixir shone brightly. Lin Feng shouted and stood up. His white feather robe and star crown suddenly turned into flying ash, no longer existing. With a wave of his hand, endless cyclic purple qi suddenly surged out of the void and surrounded Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng smiled peacefully and opened his arms. The cyclic purple qi covered his body and then tumbled and changed. Finally, it turned into a purple robe with wide sleeves. It was endless and carefree. The leaves of the mystic heaven treasure tree swayed without wind, as if it was happy for Lin Feng. The mystic heaven treasure tree, Jade Capital Mountain, and cyclic purple qi. He could feel that his relationship with the three had reached a new balance, and it was much more stable than before. Lin Feng smiled coldly. The uninvited guest outside should have caused enough trouble by now, right? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.